Good morning. Good morning. Got another day. TGIF. I'm actually very excited about the roasting tonight. It's going to be so fun. We've got some surprises. Hey, Frazzled. Good morning to you, too. Oh, I'm telling you, it's going to be very funny tonight, Frazzled. I'm excited. It's going to be quite humorous. I'm very excited for it. We can get through this day. I think this is going to start wrapping up. I think the prosecution is going to start wrapping up. But I think the big deal tonight is going to be this Travis guy, or today. Sorry, I didn't mean tonight. I think this Travis friend is going to be the big thing today, I believe. So I will make sure and take a nap after court today, so I stay awake. I'm thinking the same thing, Frazzled. Me too. I hope that can work out. This morning, so I thought I would pop in. Good morning. You'll have to, you couldn't go because you had surgery. Right? Did everything go okay? Hey, Amanda Panda. Yeah, tonight we're having a roast. It's going to be so funny. Queen and Jerry are coming up. And we've got some really good stuff planned. It's going to be hilarious. I'm going to get this started so we can get through it. Like I said, I believe I heard this Travis guy is going to be testifying today. It's supposed to be some big deal. They've been leading up to him. So we'll see. Or another crackhead, I think. Okay, let's get past all this. There we go. Oh, okay, Mark. Well, good. I'm glad it went well. Yep, Travis Beach. Here it is. It's supposed to be some.
Careful the cords, please.
I can't read. Something to do with the U-Haul. But we heard from the U-Haul kid yesterday. So I'm not sure, but we will see. We will see.
Mr. Beach, if you can stand it up again and just raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're going to provide this jury will be the truth and the whole truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. You can make yourself comfortable. Have a seat. There's some water in front of you if you'd like some.
And Mr. Beach, I'm just going to remind you that it's a big room and all the jurors need to hear you. So please keep your voice up, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Beach, can you start by stating and spelling your full name for the record?
My name is Travis Beach, Travisbeach.
And Mr. Beach, what city and state do you live in?
I currently live in Concord, New Hampshire.
And how long have you been a New Hampshire resident?
All my life, 39 years.
You're 39 years old.
Yes, sir.
And are you currently employed?
Yes, sir.
How are you employed?
I work at EB Metals in Bow, New Hampshire.
And what do you do for them?
The studs, RC. It's construction metal.
And can you tell these jurors what kind of work you've done in your life, in your career?
Carpentry, roofing, tree work, painting. Yeah, that's about it.
Mr. Beach, what was your highest level of education?
I graduated 12th, sir.
You graduated high school?
Yes, sir.
And I want to switch gears just a bit. Back in March of 2020, where were you residing?
Concord State Prison.
Okay. In early March.
I was Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay. And at some point in March, you were arrested. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Prior to that arrest, do you remember the date of that arrest?
I don't, not off the hand.
Does March 5th sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Prior to March 5th of 2020, where were you living?
I was it was Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm not sure the address.
And that's fine. You were in Manchester?
Yes, sir.
And who did you reside with in Manchester?
Barbara Ewell.
Do you know someone named Brittany Bedard?
Yes, sir.
How do you know Miss Bedard?
She's my ex-girlfriend.
And during that period that we're talking about, early March of 2020, was she your girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
And how long at that point had you known Miss Bedard?
10 years.
Did she reside with you, with Miss Ewell?
No, sir.
Mr. Beach, do you know an individual named Brendan Middleton?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how do you know Mr. Middleton?
Through we were working together at Accurate Tree Service.
How long have you known Mr. Middleton?
About 5 years.
And that's at that point back in March of 2020?
Yes, sir.
How would you describe your relationship with him? Were you friends or something else?
I wouldn't say friends. It was more of a co-worker at the time.
Okay. I want to switch gears for just a moment. You mentioned going to state prison.
Good morning, Beck. Good morning, Bell Bell.
March 5th of 2020.
I think Brendan was the one that testified yesterday.
Theft by deception and theft by unlawful taking back in 2019.
That's correct.
Were you also convicted of theft by deception in a 2014 case?
Yes, sir.
How about theft by unlawful taking in a 2016 case?
I believe I was incarcerated at that time.
Okay. Turning to this case, do you know someone named Adam Montgomery?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And how long have you known Mr. Montgomery?
Since he was 17 years old.
17. Would you recognize him if you saw him today?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach this witness?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Beach, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 101.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
recognize the individual depicted in this image?
Yes, sir.
Who do you recognize this to be?
Adam Montgomery.
The same Adam Montgomery you've known since you were 17?
Yes, sir.
And back in early March of 2020, February into March of 2020, had you recently reconnected with Mr. Montgomery?
Yes, sir.
And how did that happen?
I was at the mall in New Hampshire, and I was at the food court, and Adam was there with his girlfriend, and that's how him and I started talking again.
Do you remember his girlfriend's name?
Kayla.
And at some point after that interaction that you had with him at the mall, did he contact you requesting your help with something?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell the jurors what the nature of that communication was?
He asked me if I could rent him a U-Haul, and I said yes.
And do you recall when he contacted you
For the U-Haul,
for the U-Haul?
later on during the day.
I want to back up for just a moment. Back in March of 2020, did you have a Facebook account?
Yes, I did.
And do you recall what your Facebook account, the name of that Facebook, your name on that Facebook account was?
Travis Beach.
Did you have,
Or
were you friends with the defendant on that Facebook account?
yes, sir.
And so when he contacted you and asked you to rent him a U-Haul, what did you do?
I didn't hesitate. He's a friend. I wasn't thinking of anything negative. I was at his apartment. I saw everything packed up. I put one and one together, thought it was two, but it wasn't.
Okay. And let me stop you there, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Middleton. You said you were at his apartment and you saw things packed up.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember where his apartment was?
Union Street, I believe.
And that's here in Manchester?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when you were at his apartment?
2020.
Were you at his apartment with Brittany Bedard, with Miss Bedard that you mentioned?
Yes, sir, I was.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
So, Mr. Bedard, sorry, Mr. Beach, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 55. Do you recognize the individual depicted there?
Adam Montgomery's son.
Okay. And you mentioned that Miss Beach was with you during that interaction.
Yes, sir.
Does this accurately reflect your memory of his son that day that you went to the apartment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you just read the date at the bottom of that image?
Sunday, March 1st, 2020 at 6:02 p.m.
So having that in mind, does that refresh your recollection as to the actual day that you went to the defendant's apartment on Union Street?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any discussions with the defendant when you went to that apartment street?
We had multiple. Yes, sir.
Specifically with respect to the rental of a U-Haul van?
I'm sorry.
Specific to the rental of a U-Haul van?
Yes,
what were
sir.
those discussions that you had with the defendant?
We did. What were the discussions?
What did he say to you?
He asked me to rent him a U-Haul. He needed to move stuff, and that's it.
And you wanted to help, it sounds
Yes,
like.
sir.
Did you help him, and did you in fact help him rent a U-Haul?
Not per se myself. I got somebody to rent him a U-Haul. So in aspect, yes, sir.
Okay. And I want you to walk us through that. You said you got someone to rent him a U-Haul.
Yes, sir.
Who is that someone that you're referring to?
Brendan Middleton.
And the same Brendan Middleton that at that point you'd known for 5 years?
Yes, sir.
And so this wasn't the same day, this was a separate day. Can you walk us through getting that U-Haul with Brendan Middleton?
I myself didn't have a license at the time. So I asked Brittany to get Brittany Bedard to get the U-Haul, and she couldn't. So we had Brendan Middleton rent the U-Haul because he's the one that had the license at the time.
The day that you got the U-Haul, where were you staying? Where were you sleeping that day?
At the time, at Barbara Yule's house.
At some point during that period, did you go to the Econo Lodge and stay there?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall how many nights you stayed there?
One night.
Do you know whose name that room was in?
Pretty sure it was Brittany Bedard's.
And did the defendant also stay at that hotel with you?
Yes, sir.
Separate room or same room?
Separate room. He was on the first floor and I was on the second floor.
So you're staying at this hotel. At what point do you go and get the U-Haul for the defendant?
It was later on during the night. It was like it was dark. It was dark out, so 8-ish.
And can you tell the jurors who you went with? Who accompanied you to get the U-Haul?
Myself, Brittany Bedard, Brendan Middleton.
Okay. And where did you go to get that U-Haul?
The U-Haul place on South Willow Street here in Manchester, New Hampshire.
South Willow Street.
Yes, sir.
What did you do after getting the U-Haul, Mr. Beach?
There's a gas station right next to the U-Haul place. We stopped there, put gas in it, and then we went back to the Econo Lodge.
When you say we went back to the
I'm
Econo
sorry.
Lodge,
Myself, Brittany Bedard, and Brendan Middleton.
and what did you do when you returned to the Econo Lodge?
We did drugs at the Econo Lodge.
Yes?
Mr. Beach, when you say we did drugs,
Yes,
who is
sir.
the we that you're referring to?
Myself, Brittany Bedard, Adam, and Kayla Montgomery.
And what drugs are you referring to? What kind of drugs?
Cocaine.
Is that crack cocaine?
Yes, sir.
And, at some point during that time, while you're doing drugs, did you exchange keys with the defendant?
Yes, sir.
Did you provide him U-Haul keys?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about that interaction. Can you tell the jurors where you were when you gave him the keys and what specifically he told you?
Myself and Brittany Bedard gave the keys to Adam Montgomery, which he was staying at the Econo Lodge on the first floor. After that, Adam Montgomery and myself went outside to smoke a cigarette. He was pacing back and forth. He said he effed up, and I asked him what he meant, and all he could say and repeat was he effed up. And I'm not sure.
And you said he repeated that.
Yes, sir.
How many times did he repeat?
4 or 5 times.
When you say act, did he actually say the word?
Yes, sir.
What did he say? Can you tell the jurors?
Am I allowed to say? I fucked up.
He repeated that
Yes, sir.
multiple
I
times.
apologize.
It's okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Did you ask him to clarify?
I did. And he did not.
Did he say anything when you asked him to clarify?
All he kept saying was that I fucked up.
Where was Kayla during that conversation?
Kayla was in the first floor at the Econo Lodge with Brittany.
And I think you said this already, but at that point, when you went out to smoke the cigarette, you'd already given him the U-Haul keys.
Correct.
At any point during your time at that Econo Lodge, did you see the defendant drive the U-Haul?
I did not.
At some point, did you go back to your own room with Miss Bedard?
All right. Yes, sir.
And prior to going back to your own room, had you seen him drive the U-Haul at all?
No, I did not.
Was the sun out when you went back to your own room, or
No, sir. It was still nighttime.
it was nighttime?
Yes, sir.
And do you know what the defendant did with the U-Haul?
I don't.
Did you attempt to get in touch with him the following day about the U-Haul?
No, sir.
Do you think seeing those your Facebook messages would refresh your recollection on that point?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
So, Mr. Beach, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as
Yes,
State's
sir.
Exhibit 139.
Yes, sir.
Will you take a look at the second page of this document and just look up when you're done? So let me ask you this while you're reviewing. Do you recognize what that is?
No, sir.
Um, so let's do this. At the top of the page, does it say something there?
Meta platform businesses record?
Meta Platform Business Records?
Yes. Sorry.
Are you familiar with Meta?
No, sir.
All right, so let's look on. Does it say what the service is there?
Facebook.
Okay. And then halfway down the page.
Good morning, Beezer, Legs, Lynn.
First name Travis, middle name is blank, last name is Beach.
Okay. And I want to talk about the specific records.
Yes, sir.
If I can have just a moment. Okay. So I'm just going to ask that you review page 139, and I'm going to point you right here. If you can start there, and then this is front and back, so you just go through.
Would you like me to read out loud? Or?
No, just to yourself.
Okay.
And so I'm going to draw your attention to right here, this message.
Right.
So having reviewed that, does that refresh your recollection with respect to whether or not you reached out to the defendant about the U-Haul?
I mean, it's right. I don't remember it, but it states right there. So yes.
All right, and I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 140.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just going to ask you to read that top message.
Out loud.
Note to yourself. And is that the same message you just read on your?
On the display. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So with respect to these messages, are they fair and accurate in terms of the messages that you exchanged with the defendant?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move to strike what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 140 and mark full and published to the jury.
Any objection?
140 is the communication as opposed to the certified records. No objection to 140.
The ID is stricken. It's entered as a full exhibit. It may be published.
Okay. I'm going to take these back.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask that you hold on to this because we're going to go through it. So I'm going to put the exhibit that's in front of you, State's Exhibit 140, up on the screen behind you. And I'm just going to ask that you look back and take a look at what's on the screen, the TV screen behind you. Other than the little red sticker at the bottom, is that the same image that you have in front of you?
Yes, sir.
And so you can refer to the image in front of you, but I'm just going to ask that you identify a few things. Starting with the top message, can you tell us who the sender of that message is? What's the name of the individual? It says next to author,
Travis Beach.
and that's you.
Correct.
Can you tell us when that message was sent? And it's right below the author's name.
March 4th, 2020 at 1947.
And do you see where it says UTC?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with Coordinated Universal Time, Mr. Beach?
No, sir.
Fair to say, though, it's not Eastern Standard Time.
Correct.
Okay. And can you tell us what you wrote? The slide immediately, or the message that says body.
Bro, what U-Haul did you drop it off at? Because he just got a text saying the van was supposed to be back at 2, so please let me know
Good morning, Lena.
WTF is going on.
And after you sent that message, did you immediately send another message? Can you go to the next, where it says body?
ASAP.
So if you can refer to the message below, can you tell us who the author of that message is?
Facebook.
Okay, and is there a specific number attached to that?
Next to Facebook.
Next to Facebook.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what that number is? Can you read it for us?
1-0-0-0-0-9-0-0-7-8-8-5-8-0-3.
Okay, and you initially said this was your communication with the defendant, Adam Montgomery. Did that used to have a name? When you made those messages, when you communicated with the defendant, did his Facebook account have a name?
Adams.
Adams.
Yes, sir.
What was the name of his Facebook account?
Adam Montgomery.
Okay, and that's no longer there. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you can go to when that message was sent, just below the author. And if you can read the date and time of the response.
3/4/2020, 1947.
So if you can go to the next message
I'm
where it
sorry.
says sent.
You want me to read the number again?
No, not the number, the time where it says sent under the Facebook author. So the next line down from that.
00/08/20.
Okay, and what's the date associated with that time? And I have it up behind you if you need to refer to that.
3/5/2020.
Okay. And if you can refer to the actual body of the message that you received from the defendant, can you read that for us?
Please don't message me stuff like this on Facebook again.
Okay, you've skipped one message. If you can go up to the message before that.
I dropped it off on Willow, my word.
All right, and let's go to the next message. If you can tell us that's also from the defendant, can you verify that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what's the time of that message?
00/08/44.
And that again is UTC.
Yes, sir.
And same date as the last message. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, now let's go to the body of that message. If you can read that to the jurors.
Please don't message me stuff like this on Facebook again.
Do you know that the defendant didn't want you messaging stuff to him about a U-Haul rental?
No,
And let me back up. You said earlier you didn't know what he was using this U-Haul for.
correct.
Did you ask him?
No, sir.
Why not?
Honestly, I didn't think I had to because I saw all his belongings packed up. And prior, during the day, he said he was having problems with DCYF. So I kind of figured that he was moving.
And were you aware that he'd just moved into that apartment?
No, sir.
Did you ask Kayla what the U-Haul was for?
I wasn't allowed to talk to Michaela.
Why weren't you allowed to talk to Kayla?
I didn't ask.
Mr. Beach, did you ever meet a child in Harmony, Montgomery?
No, sir. No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Beach. No additional questions for you, sir.
And good morning, Mr. Beach.
Yes, sir.
I'm Jamie Brooks and I represent Mr. Montgomery. You indicated on direct examination that you reconnected with Adam. I believe you said it was February of 2020.
I didn't say February.
Do you know when it was?
Honestly, no.
But it was at the Mall of New Hampshire,
Correct.
food court specifically.
Correct.
Fair to say that it was prior to these March events.
Yeah. Yes.
And Kayla was with Adam at the food court.
Correct.
Were any kids with Adam and Kayla at the food court?
They're two sons.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And Your Honor, no additional questions for this witness. I'd ask that he be excused.
All right, any all right, you may step down. You are excused, sir.
Thank you, man.
Very brief.
Yes?
Time to state the call, Ms. Tara Hilbert. Morning, Ms. Hilbert.
Morning.
If you would please watch your step on the cords there, and if you could just remain standing when you get to the podium, please. So I have just a little bit of a technician. We're all set. So if you go ahead and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony that you give this church will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Please feel free to have a seat. Ms. Hilbert, as we're being recorded here today, would you please go ahead and state your full name and spell both your first and your last name for the record?
Tara Hilbert, TarahHilbert.
Thank you, Ms. Hilbert. And what town are you living in right now?
Manchester, New Hampshire.
How long have you lived in Manchester?
Almost 8 years.
Okay. And where do you live?
Oh, so cute.
Orange Street.
On Orange Street?
Yes.
Okay. What do you do
Give them
for work?
big kisses.
Pretty much the property manager for over there.
Okay. And when you say the property manager, how many buildings do you help manage?
Just for that property, there's 4 buildings on that property. And then there's other properties elsewhere, but
Okay.
So do you help manage the other properties elsewhere as well as the 4 there?
If the landlord needs help, yes.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
5 years, 4 years, 5 years,
4 or 5 years? And how far did you go in school?
10th grade.
10th grade. All right. What are
Lena,
some of the
that's
other
how
things
they
that you
originally
do for the
got
landlord
her.
to help out for those 4 properties?
And
or
then she
4
committed
properties
perjury.
elsewhere? Can you kind of describe what some of your duties are to the jury?
I will help maintenance clean out apartments if they need it. Clean when before tenants moving in, I will completely finish cleaning it. I'll meet with new tenants before moving in, give them keys. If anybody needs any help, have any questions, they usually come to me and I take care of it.
I'm about to say, do they call you, or sometimes they usually even maybe knock on your door
Yes.
since you're right there?
Yes.
Do you know an individual by the name of Dennis Cloutier?
Yes.
Okay. How do you know him?
That is our maintenance man.
Big beard?
Yes.
All right. How long have you known him?
8 years.
And with regards to the properties that you talked about, you take care of, is one of those properties 644 Union Street?
Yes.
Mr. Cloutier, do you know whether he has done work there at 644 Union Street?
Yes.
If I could approach you, please, Your Honor.
So I'd like to go ahead and show you 2 exhibits.
To show you what's marked states 136 and 137, and just ask generally whether or not you recognize those images.
Yes.
What do you recognize them to be?
This is my building that I live in.
Okay.
This is the corner of Orange and Union, and then the other property of Union Street.
All right. I see that's all on 136. And what about 137?
That is my back parking lot.
Okay. Back parking lot for your building. Is it also the back parking lot for 644 Union?
Yes.
I'm going to leave these up here with you for a moment. But I'm also going to project them up onto the screen. Specifically looking at exhibit 136. If you could just look onto the screen for a quick minute, Ms. Hilbert, just to confirm that's the same image.
Yes.
All right. And you went ahead and said that there was, well, could you please point out where 644 Union Street is in this, kind of the intersections?
This is Orange Street.
Mhm.
This is Union.
Okay.
This is 644.
So that's 644. The building that's right on the corner of Orange and Union, is that also one of the ones that you manage? Okay. And what about the building just to the right? If we go, would that be west on Orange Street there? Yes. Is that also one of the properties that you manage?
That's my building.
That's your building. Okay. With regards to a person by the name of Adam Montgomery, do you know who that is? All right. And who's that?
It was a old tenant of ours.
Could you please point out what was the building that Mr. Montgomery was staying in? That one there? Right. I'd like to switch now to exhibit 137. I've got that on the screen. I just want to confirm, if you would please, that what you're looking at on the screen matches 137 that's in front of you on the desk. Okay. And from this angle, could you please point out where Orange Street and Union Street are again, that same intersection?
This is Orange Street.
Mhm.
All the way up, and that's Union.
So the backside of that 644 Union Street, which building is that? Okay, the one looks like a porch built off the back.
Well, these are 3 separate numbers: 640, 642, 644.
Oh, okay. Those units inside those buildings, are they all accessible from the back as well as from the front?
Yes.
Right. And that, could you please point out the parking lot that's used by the people who live in that building?
Right here.
Right there. Okay. And with regards to your building, is that the building on the far left-hand side of the screen, still on this side of Orange?
This one, yes.
That's the one. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Hilbert. Please feel free to have a seat. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
With regards to Adam Montgomery, you also know an individual by the name of Kayla Montgomery.
I do.
How did you first meet Adam Montgomery?
I don't know our first interaction. I remember seeing him here and there. And then I feel like it had to do with the kids because I had a child, their children's age.
Mhm.
And it kind of just went from there.
With regards to, you said you had a child the same age as their children's age. How many children did they have that you saw?
At that time,
Yes.
Two.
Two. Did your child and their children play together sometimes? And where would they play?
in the parking lot.
The same one that we see here on Exhibit 137?
More at the parking lot on my side,
Okay.
but yeah,
At the time, Adam Montgomery, what was he doing for work? Do you know?
he was not working at that time that I'm aware of.
Separate from that, did you ever visit him inside his apartment?
No.
Okay. Where would you interact with him?
In the parking lot, my porch, and he was in my house a couple times.
And why was he in your house a couple times?
We were feeding him, Kayla, and the kids.
What time of year was that?
Summertime.
Like a grill out or something?
Yes.
All right. Did he ever say anything to you about having a daughter by the name of Harmony?
He did.
Okay. What did he say about Harmony?
Just that he had a daughter named Harmony and that he hadn't seen her in a couple of years because her mother took her back to Massachusetts.
That's what he told you.
Yes.
And when would this have been that you had this conversation with him? What year?
2020.
2020?
Yep.
All right. Would you have conversations with him also in, let's say, to 2021 as well? With regards to, let me just say this. Did he ever say specifically where Harmony was with her mother?
I want to say it was Lowell,
Okay.
Lowell, Mass.
All right. That's your memory?
Yeah.
And when he was living next door, I'm sorry, not next door, but he was living in Union Street and you were over on Orange Street, right? So it's not technically next door.
To me, it's next door, but yeah.
Okay. All right. With regards to the residents at Union Street during the time period that he was living there, how would you describe those neighbors? Were they average? Were they quiet? Were they loud?
I didn't see them the first 6 months of them living there.
Oh, and by them you mean
Adam and Kayla. Oh,
okay.
is that what we were talking about?
Well, yeah. Let me revise the
Sorry.
question. That's all right. That's all right. That's on me for not asking a clear question. So you didn't see them for the first 6 months. Let me go with that for a minute.
Yeah.
All right. And how would you get into their apartment from this photo that we're looking at here?
Can I stand up?
Yes, if you could.
So their back door is like right there.
Okay. So I see you're kind of pointing to the bottom left of that stair structure on the top right-hand side of the, or top right-hand, let's say, quadrant of the image. Is that right? Would you say that's the top right area of that photo?
To me, it's left, but
Top left. Okay. Top left of the stairs. Okay. But overall, if I looked at the whole photo, would you say it's the top right-hand side of the photo?
yes.
All right. With regards to the noise, was there ever any noise complaints in those buildings
From other tenants, yeah.
from other tenants?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever receive one from Adam Montgomery?
Not that I recall. I think everybody stayed away from him. They just stayed.
Objection. Sustained.
I'll rephrase the question, Ms. Hilbert. So with regards to that particular building, did you ever respond to any sort of noise complaints at that building?
No.
Okay. And I mean 644 Union Street, that building?
No.
All right. And let me ask, with regards to Adam Montgomery, did he ever tell you where they were living prior to them living at 644 Union?
Yeah, they told me that they had stayed with.
Sustained. Rephrase the question, please.
Okay. What, if anything, did Adam tell you about the location of where he had been living prior to him coming to be with you?
I knew about the FIT program they were in, and then
Did he
living
ever
in
say about any other residence he lived in before Fit?
a car?
A car. Thank you. I'd like to ask a few questions with regards to Kayla Montgomery. Did you have conversations or communicate with her as well?
Yes.
And I'm not going to go into the substance of what those conversations were, but what were the ways that you would communicate with each other?
Sometimes through Facebook Messenger, other times on my porch, parking lot.
In April of 2021, at any time, did you take Kayla away from the Union Street apartment?
I did,
Why?
because Adam had beat her pretty bad.
How did she look when you saw her?
Really bad.
And when you say really bad, can you describe where you saw, I'm sorry, did you see any injuries on her?
I did.
Where did you see those injuries?
Her eyes, her nose, she was covered in blood.
Where did you take her?
To a hotel in Hooksett.
When was the last, did she have anybody with her when you took her to the hotel in Hooksett?
Her two boys and the little girl that she had just had.
The baby? Later on, did the Montgomerys, both Adam Montgomery and Kayla Montgomery and the children move out of that apartment?
Yeah, they got evicted.
Okay. Were you a part of the clean out that was done on that apartment?
Was not.
Who would have come in to do that clean out?
Dennis.
And when a clean out is done of the apartments, when you manage them and the ones that you've seen, what's the sort of work that gets done on those apartments?
Pretty much just throw everything in trash bags, and I specifically put it on the outside porch, and Dennis will come pick it up with the trailer and take it to the dump.
What about with regards to any of the sort of appliances inside? Are appliances changed?
Yes.
And what's the typical turnaround time for a new renter to come in?
It all depends how damaged the apartment is prior. Sometimes it'll take over a month to fix the damages.
Once the apartment is ready to rent, usually what's the time period between that and when a new tenant would move in?
I'd say a week to 2 weeks.
Okay, so a week to 2 weeks assuming the apartment's okay, that's the turnover time.
Yeah.
Let me just have a moment, please, Your Honor. Okay, Ms. Hilbert, thank you very much. Those are all the questions that I have. I believe defense counsel may have a few.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Hebert, you testified about a conversation with Adam where he indicated that Harmony was with her mother and you thought perhaps Lowell.
Yes.
And that conversation came up in the context of him talking about missing her, right? And he sort of asked, well, where is she? And that was his answer.
Yes.
Now, you also talked about seeing Kayla with black eyes,
Yes.
and you're pretty emotional about that, right? Because you and Kayla had become very good friends.
Not just that.
Oh, right, of course. But one of the reasons was that she was quite dear to you.
Yes.
And over the course of the time that she moved in, you didn't really meet him for about 6 months, but then when you met him, you and Kayla became good friends.
Slowly, but yes.
And during that, after Kayla was arrested, you contacted her in jail.
Yep.
And you remained good friends with her.
For about a month, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. No additional questions.
You may sit down.
Thank you.
Ask the witness to be excused, please.
Any objection?
No objection.
Witness is excused. State may call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this point, the state would like to call Ms. Jessica Guerin to the stand, please. Morning, Ms. Guerin. Please go up right near the bailiff, and once you step on the electrical cords there, and if you would please remain standing if the witness stand.
You make sure your phone is turned off.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Guerin, if you would please go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please feel free to have a seat. And Ms. Guerin, as we're being recorded here today, would you please go ahead and state your full name? Oh, I apologize. Did I leave some photos up?
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Oh, maybe it's not. I'm so sorry. I thought I got it off. I'm shutting it up right now.
Is it off or in mute?
I'm trying. I don't know. It's a new phone. I'm so sorry. I thought I had it off all the way.
Well, we will try to make our testimony quick, but we do need to have it in mute, please.
Yep, I'm doing it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Guerin.
So sorry.
That's okay. If you would please go ahead, since we're being recorded here today, would you please state your full name, spell both your first and your last name for the record?
Jessica Guerin, Jessica Guerin.
And Ms. Guerin, are you a New Hampshire resident?
I am.
How long have you been living in state?
About 13 years.
Well, 13 years.
I'm just gonna I'll ask both of you, please keep your voices up. It's a big room. All the jurors need to be able to hear you.
Ms. Guerin, let me ask you, you said you've been living here about 13 years?
Yes.
Okay. With regards to that, what city do you currently reside in?
Manchester.
And how long have you been living in Manchester?
About a year.
How far did you go in school?
I'm still in school.
Okay. What are you studying?
Psychology.
Okay. And where are you studying psychology?
UNH.
UNH. And how much longer do you have to go on your program?
About 3 years.
And let me ask you, what sort of work have you had up until this point?
I've worked as a debt collector. I've worked in drug and alcohol rehabs, Dunkin' Donuts.
All right. You said you've worked in drug and alcohol rehabs. I'd like to ask, did you ever work at a location in a rehab center called Granite State Recovery back in May of 2021?
I did.
And what were your job duties there?
I was a recovery support specialist. So when clients would come in, they were usually pretty emotionally like in the air. So I was the person that kind of helped keep them level-headed and stay.
Okay.
I would run groups also.
Did you ever meet, and separate from that, I'd like to ask, did you ever meet an individual by the name of Adam Montgomery?
I did.
All right. And I'd like to go ahead and show you what's been marked Exhibit 101. Do you recognize this person?
Yes.
And who's that?
Adam Montgomery.
Adam Montgomery, the person that you met in May 2021?
Correct.
Yes. You also know an individual by the name of Shane Perkins.
I do.
Okay. And how do you know Shane Perkins?
It was somebody that I dated that was a friend of Adam's.
Was that back during this same time period of 2021?
Correct. It's right when I met Adam.
At the time, where was Shane living?
At one of the facilities.
Okay. And with regards to Adam Montgomery, do you know where he was living back then?
Yeah, the same house.
Same house?
Mhm.
And where was that house? What city?
Auburn Street, I think it was 241 Auburn Street.
Oh, right here in Manchester.
Correct.
All right. Did you ever have a conversation with the defendant, or generally, did you ever talk with Adam Montgomery about children or his children?
Yeah, we used to have quite a few in-depth conversations.
All right. How many children did he say that he had?
So for the most part, I only knew of the two boys. At one point, he mentioned having a daughter, but it was very quickly and brushed off.
You say very quickly and brushed off. What do you mean by brushed off?
He kind of he just changed the subject as fast as he could.
Okay. Do you ever remember having a specific conversation with him about his daughter? And by this, I guess I want to ask, first of all, do you remember where this conversation was, where it took place?
Yeah. Actually, it was right at the corner of Union Street and Auburn Street.
Okay.
Dollar Deluxe, I believe. I was sitting outside.
All right. And who were you with when you were outside?
Originally, I was just sitting by myself waiting for Adam.
Okay. And waiting for Adam?
Yep.
Okay. And did he join you?
Yep.
All right. And at some point, were you waiting for anybody else while the two of you were there?
Not really. That was a little muffled. So Shane had been having a really bad day and he was sleeping, and I was messaging back and forth with Adam, waiting for him to come out so I could give him some flowers and a card that I had given. So that way that when Shane woke up, he would have it there.
Oh, okay. And when you were talking with Adam, had you already dropped those things off? Had you already handed those to go in for Shane?
Not quite. He was sitting with me. Like we were just actually we sat in my car for a good hour and a half talking.
Okay. And during that conversation, did you talk specifically with him about a daughter by the name of Harmony?
He never specified a name. He had mentioned that he had two boys and a daughter, but he had dropped the daughter off at her mother's in Mass somewhere, and just kind of changed the subject as fast as possible.
You said well, I'll make sure I got that right. And you said that he told you that he dropped off his daughter at her mother's in Mass, and does that mean Massachusetts?
Massachusetts, yep.
All right. And then you said he quickly what?
Brushed off the I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but the conversation switched very rapidly.
If I can just have a moment, Your Honor. Let me just ask you, Ms. Karen, when was the last time that you talked with Adam Montgomery?
Actually, I was just looking at my messages a couple days ago I think it was like March of 21.
So it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. I don't have any further questions for you. Defense counsel may have a few.
Thank you.
Good morning. I have no questions.
You may sit down. Statement called its next witness.
Your Honor, we could approach.
Good morning, Becca, Mirandi, Mama. How are you all doing today? She has had a hard week. Um, I'm sorry, Becca. I'm not really sure what that girl had to offer, but I guess just that he didn't want to talk about his daughter. She seemed like maybe she was a little bit of a creeper. Wanted him to take the flowers and stuff to the boyfriend that she wasn't allowed to. That who knows? Who cares, right? It seemed a little odd to me, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we see our next witness, this is a good time for the break. It's a little bit earlier than usual, but we'll take our break now, and then we may be able to go through lunch. We have a couple of matters that we have to deal with now. So why don't I give you your mid-morning break now? Don't talk to each other or anybody else. Don't do any independent research. Don't look up anything online. And we will see you hopefully in 15 minutes or so. Like I said, there are a couple of things, so maybe a little longer, but we'll get you back in here as soon as we can. All right. All rise for the jurors, please.
Okay, so just like magic, we're going to come back after break. All right, what's happening?
fit shelter in Manchester?
Yes.
It was important for us to take up some additional matters. We're now ready to resume testimony. Attorney Agati, whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Giles, would you please stand? And please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony
They're
you
absolutely
give this
trashy.
jury
Of course
will
they
be
are.
the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Please feel free to have a seat. Ms. Giles, as we are being recorded here today, would you
I've
please state
known
your full
addicts
name
before that
and spell
washed
your
their hair
first
and,
and your
and
last
kept good
name for the
hygiene. I
record?
don't understand all
Montgomery
this
Giles,
nasty.
Nicolegilas.
And Ms. Giles, how far did you go in school?
11th grade.
11th grade. I know that you've got some difficulties with regards to being here today. I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone here in the courthouse for being able to testify for us. I'd like to ask, at one point in January to July of 2020, were you living at 177 Lake Avenue, the Families in Transition or FIT shelter in Manchester?
Yes.
And what was your room number that you were staying in?
I think 8,
8. Okay.
I believe.
While you were there, did you meet any individual by the name of Adam Montgomery?
Yes.
Okay. And where was Adam Montgomery
Like
living
she
in the building when you
has
were
lost all rights to her
Room
children.
1.
there? Room 1. And who was he living with?
Kayla, Declan, and Seamus.
And Declan and Seamus, were those his children?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you know where he was working at the time? Did he ever
Me
tell
too.
you where he was working?
Yes.
Where did he say he was working?
Portland Pie.
Did you ever visit him down there?
Yes.
The rooms in your room, room 8, and their room, room 1, could you describe those rooms for the jury who may not have seen them? What do those rooms look like?
They're like bunk beds. I know it's more or less like a hotel room, but you just have 2 bunk beds in there. You have your own bathroom, and it's shared living space.
Are you allowed to change the furniture while you're living there?
They ask you not to.
And what about the orientation of the furniture? Where it
I
is
don't know. I haven't been able to find out where
One
they're
bed on
at.
one
That's
side of
it.
the room, one bed on the other side of the room. Doesn't
She's
really
lost all rights to them. I hope they're not with her mother. She was not.
Window
No, I just hope
that
not.
has bars on it, so the kids don't fall out, and a bathroom with a tub and toilet and sink.
Okay. How often did you talk with Adam Montgomery or Kayla Montgomery? How often?
Daily.
Daily?
Yep.
During your time together, while you were staying in room 8 and they were staying in room 1, did you ever see Kayla Montgomery with bruises on her?
Yes.
Okay. Where were the bruises that you saw?
Pretty much all over her face, her abdomen, her arms, her legs.
Did you ever ask Kayla about those bruises?
Yes.
What did she say caused them?
Objection, hearsay.
We can approach, Your Honor.
Yes?
So she made a deal with prosecution that she pled guilty to perjury because she perjured herself in front of the grand jury. And so she made a deal with them for her testimony. It's not a given for sure, they say. I don't know what that means. She wasn't a good witness, I can say that. But also, she's looking at being able to parole in May. She feels pretty sure she's going to get that. I would really hope that's not the case because I think she got 3 years for perjury. Don't quote me, but I think that's it. But she is up for parole in May for sure. She feels comfortable with that, but I would hope she doesn't get it. I would hope that after all this, that she gets charged with more. When I looked up the kids, what I saw was they were not disclosed. It said, I don't know. I posted it the other day when we talked about it. Can't remember, but they weren't disclosing any information. Is what I saw, but I don't know. When her mother testified, they didn't mention anything about it, but I don't know that they would. Good morning, Happy. Well, I don't know about what kind of deal she made with the welfare fraud, but I can tell you this for sure. And I don't mean,
Dawn.
I'm talking about way before the perjury, all of that. To get her in, they arrested her on welfare fraud. That was exactly what she was brought in
Thank you, Ms.
for
Giles. I
originally,
apologize for the
like
interruption.
2 years ago.
I'd like to ask you, could you describe
So that
what
has
you saw,
happened.
Kayla? You said there were bruises in different parts of
What
your body.
has
Could you
gone on
describe
with it,
what
I
you saw?
don't know.
What color were the bruises?
But that is a
Sometimes
fact.
Purple, sometimes yellow.
I don't know that she couldn't still be charged.
Depends on how soon I seen them.
And what were the size of those bruises that you saw?
Some were small, like fingerprints. Others were like this.
God bless you. How often did you see them on her?
Pretty often.
Yep.
Pretty often.
Becca,
How often is that? I don't want to put words in your mouth. So
There was like a new one.
she's
pretty
a
much every
foul,
day.
disgusting human being.
did the
He's a rotten
Montgomerys
hell.
move out of the fit shelter?
Yes,
Did you do anything to help them in that move?
yes.
And what did you do?
I helped them move out with
Okay.
their belongings.
And how did you help them move out?
I helped them take their stuff from their room. I put it in my vehicle and I brought them to their apartment.
Okay, I see. So you had a vehicle. You were helping with your vehicle to move things over.
Yes, sir.
Okay, where did they move to?
On the corner of Orange and Union. I don't remember the exact address.
Did you stay friendly with them after the move?
Yes.
Did you ever visit them in their apartment at that new building?
Yes.
Could you describe for the jury what the inside of that apartment looked like?
It was kind of cluttered, a little messy. There was cockroaches. Um, it was only a one bedroom. There was holes in the walls, ceiling. Um, there was one time I went there and like I don't know, it looked like the living room was torn apart and half the walls. The bathroom.
Let me ask you, you said living room was torn apart, half the walls. Let me ask about a couple of specifics if I can. Um, what about the light fixtures? Did you ever notice anything about the light fixtures there?
Yeah, they were hanging from the ceiling.
Okay.
They weren't like secured. I When he first moved in, he had thought that it was one color and now it's a different color, and then he assumed the owners were spying on him, listening to his conversations.
Did Adam Montgomery ever talk to you about any plumbing issues at that new building?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said that the tub had backed up, and because I had asked, I went in to use the bathroom and the tub was dirty, and I asked what happened, and he said that he was waiting for the landlord to call because the plumbing backed up.
So what did you suggest to him?
I didn't really suggest anything.
Separate from time there at that location, are you aware whether or not Adam and Kayla were ever over at the Econo Lodge staying there while they still had the Union Street apartment?
Yes.
And are you aware what time of year that would have
You're
happened?
exactly right,
Spring,
Becca. She didn't give a
winter
shit
still,
about
I should
anybody
say, or
but herself.
spring or summer or fall?
And that idiot.
I
I agree 100%.
want to say it was winter because it was like right after tax season.
Right after tax season?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a moment, please, Your Honor.
Yeah, they know all about tax season because they get a great big fat check for not having fucking earned a damn dime. I can't. I cannot with these damn people. These people were given all kinds of money. That's why they wanted her. The only reason they wanted Harmony was to get a check. And
When
the
you're
drug dealer even
interacting
admitted they
and
paid
talking
for
with
drugs with
Adam Montgomery,
food stamps while
what
they sat in
behavior,
filth
if
and
any, did you ever
squalor in the
see
damn
about
car.
him believing that somebody was recording him or listening to him?
He actually thought that quite often.
And did you see him do anything as a result of this?
No, she at this
The
point she is
actions that
not
he would
facing
take.
charges. She made a deal for her
He was
testimony
just like,
to just serve time for
I
her
don't know,
perjury.
would ask if
No,
I
right
thought
now
it
she
was
does not.
true, or like, look, the number 5 bus keeps going by. They go by like 5 times. I was just going by the shelter. I'm like, that's the route, I believe. I think it was a 5 or 6, one of those two. I'm not exactly sure, but it drives straight down Lake Ave to go downtown, and he just thought I was following him. And then the whole light fixture thing. I don't know. He's just didn't make sense half the time, so I didn't listen to him half the time.
At any point when you described before that you had seen these bruises on Kayla Montgomery, at any point did you offer for her to get her out of that relationship?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did she accept your offer back then?
Not really.
Okay.
Not exactly. She was afraid.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions for you. I believe
We're alone.
And what did she say when you were alone? Ms. Giles, I apologize. I just have one other question. I'd asked you before about the bruises that you saw at Fit, and I just want to ask you, what did Kayla say caused those bruises that you saw at Fit?
Originally, she would say she fell, or Seamus threw a toy. Declan hit her with a bottle.
Okay. Did she ever say anything about Adam causing those bruises?
Not till we were alone.
I'm sorry?
Not until we were alone.
And what did she say when you were alone?
She would say that Adam was doing it, and she's afraid, and she couldn't. She needs to get out of there, but she's afraid to leave.
Thank you very much, Ms. Giles. Your Honor, I understand that limiting instruction is appropriate. We would ask it be given at this time.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the questioning that you just heard about what did Kayla say, the responses to that question can only be used not for the purpose of the truth of what Kayla said, but to determine the credibility of that witness. Okay, so the prior consistent statements can be used only for the determining the credibility of the witness when the witness's credibility has been attacked. Okay, so not for the truth, but for assessing credibility. All right.
It is still morning. Good morning, Miss Giles.
Good morning.
My name is Jamie Brooks.
Not for
and I
the
represent
truth?
Adam Montgomery. I'll be
What?
asking you a few questions as well. I just want to begin by clarifying your testimony today.
Mhm.
You were
I'm
saying
so
that when
aggravated
you
with
were
stupid
at
people.
the shelter at Fit in January and February of 2020,
Mhm.
you observed bruises on Kayla Montgomery.
Yes, sir.
When you talked to her in private, she said that those bruises you observed were from Adam.
Yes, sir.
Miss Giles, do you recall being interviewed by a Detective Dunleavy?
Yep.
This interview by Detective Dunleavy was in June of 2022,
Yes.
1.5 years ago, actually more than 1.5 years ago.
Hmm.
And I apologize. We're making a record, so we do need to have like a kind of like a yes or no as opposed to an mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This interview conducted by Detective Dunleavy in June of 2022 was at the police department.
Okay. I don't remember.
You do not remember where it was?
No, he's come to my house a couple of times. He came to, my house a couple of times. And I know I did go to the police station once, I believe. I don't remember when.
Do you remember there being an interview specifically that was recorded?
Sure. Yeah. It was at when we were at the police station. I think he did one at my kitchen table twice or something like that.
Okay. What I'm wanting to focus on is the interview that took place at the police department.
Okay.
And you do recall having an interview at the police department?
Yeah, I don't remember what his questions or anything like that.
You don't remember what it was about?
I know what it was about. It was about Adam, but I don't remember all the questions. It was over a year ago. I'm lucky if I remember what I had for dinner last night.
This interview was conducted by not only Detective Dunleavy, but also Detective Rayhill. Do you remember that?
There was some other guy in there. I don't know who it was.
And when you were there for this interview, you knew that it was about Harmony Montgomery.
Yes.
And you wanted to do everything you could to help, right?
Right.
You knew that it was being recorded, right?
Yes.
You knew that Adam had already been arrested at this point for second-degree assault.
I believe so, yeah.
Harmony's disappearance was already in the media at this point.
Okay.
By okay, do you mean yes?
I don't pay attention to the news. I don't have cable.
But you do recall that this interview was regarding
Lost so
Harmony
much.
Montgomery.
Yes.
Wow.
And the police were asking you questions.
Right.
You wanted to answer those questions correctly.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did not hear that.
Yes.
You wanted to tell them everything that you knew.
I didn't know nothing.
The police asked you about the time you spent with Adam and Kayla at the fit shelter, correct?
Yes.
And specifically, the police asked you during this June 9th, 2022 recorded interview whether you were aware of any domestic violence between Adam and Kayla, correct?
Yes. And I said no.
You said that Kayla on occasion referred to Adam as a dick,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
But you did not state that you had observed at any point any bruises on Kayla Montgomery.
Right.
You did not tell the police that Kayla had confided in you about any domestic violence.
Right.
You did not tell the police that Kayla was in any way scared of Adam.
Right.
And this was, again, an interview where you knew what the subject was about and you wanted to do everything you could to help the police.
Okay.
By okay, you mean yes?
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you very much for your time, Ms. Giles.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Giles, about those questions you were just asked, you didn't say anything about the domestic violence, about the abuse that you saw on Kayla in June of 2022. Do you recall Detective Rahale coming to meet with you in January of this year to talk about this? I'm sorry?
Yes, in my kitchen.
In your kitchen?
Yep.
All right.
Yes, sorry.
Was it not rehabilitate?
Overruled.
Thank you. So, Ms. Giles, with regards to that conversation, you were just asked a moment ago about why you didn't say anything about domestic violence with Kayla back in June of 2022. What changed? What was different between June of 2022 versus when you talked to police in January of 2024?
Just like flashbacks and memories of different things and demeanors and situations.
When you were speaking with police in June of 2022, did you want to have anything to do with the investigation?
No, I did not.
And in January of 2024, why did you sit down with police and talk with them then and share more information?
Because I'm a mother and I feel for Harmony's family.
And your testimony here today about what you saw, what you experienced, and what you heard people say with regards to that, is that the truth, just as you've taken an oath to tell today?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions, Ron.
Ms. Giles, the interview that you participated in June of 2022 was voluntary, correct?
Yes, I think. I don't remember. To be honest, I honestly don't remember. I know I was called in.
You were subpoenaed to appear here today, correct?
Unfortunately, yes.
I'm sorry, but you were not subpoenaed to appear at the police station, correct?
No.
In fact, when you were advised or when you arrived, you were advised that this was voluntary. You did not have to speak to the police.
I guess I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Um, but you were not in any way told that you had to speak with the police.
I don't think so.
And again, this was not a short interview. You covered a
There
lot
for
of
about an
territory
hour.
during that interview, correct?
I think I was there for about an hour, yeah.
If I were to, just about an hour, you said, right?
I think.
So if you were told that the interview began at, say, for example, 10:24 and ended at 11:20, that'd be about an hour, right?
Yes.
And you were there voluntarily that time,
Yeah.
and you were there to help.
Do what I could and didn't think I'd be here risking my own life.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, we'd ask for the witness to be excused, please, so she may go.
Ma'am, you may be excused. You're not to take pictures on the way out.
She say she was risking her life. I wonder what that means. By who?
State may call its next witness.
I think a lot of these thugs are a whole lot like Adam, and they're chicken shit cowards.
Please go through witness stand. Please watch your step on the cords there. And remain standing when you get there, sir. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please feel free to have a seat.
I know, Lena, they did.
Dope, as we're being recorded here today, would you please go ahead and state your full name and spell both your first and your last name for the record?
Michael Dobe, Michaeldobe.
And Mr. Dope, what town do you live in?
Londonderry, New Hampshire.
How long have you been living there?
10, 11 years.
And how far did you go in school?
I have an associate's degree,
In what field?
criminal justice.
And with regards to that associate's degree in criminal justice, can I ask a little bit about your work history? What are some of the kind of different jobs that you've had in your life?
Yep. So I've worked about 15 years in the security and asset protection field.
And what are the different businesses that you did security and asset protection for?
I did security at the Mall of New Hampshire, and then I did asset protection for Kmart, Rite Aid, Walmart, and Macy's.
In Macy's. Are you still working at Macy's now?
I am not.
Okay. Where do you work now?
I work for the Department of Veteran Affairs.
And what do you do for them?
I was hired as a police officer, but I'm currently working in dispatch until I can go to the police academy.
And when is that scheduled to be?
April.
In April of this year.
Correct.
Okay. You said that before you were working at Walmart. What are the different Walmarts that you've worked in?
I was mainly out of the Manchester, New Hampshire store. I would assist in other stores, like just during inventory.
And the Manchester, New Hampshire store, just for jurors who may not be familiar, where is that Walmart in Manchester?
725 Gold Street.
Okay. If we were going to leave here at the courthouse, what would be the way that you would take to get down to where that is, where Gold Street is?
Me personally, I would just go up Central Street to Beach, take a right onto Beach to South Willow, and then South Willow to Gold Street, and then the Walmart's right there.
How long did you work at that particular Walmart?
Approximately 2 years.
And what are the other Walmarts that you've worked at?
There was a few. Keene, Hooksett, and a couple of other ones, but I don't remember the towns.
regards to the Manchester one, was there anybody else that was working security and asset protection with you at that location?
Yeah, there was a few of us.
And how were your shifts divided up? What shifts would you work most of the time?
We were just based off the needs of the business, so it wasn't anything in particular. Sometimes I would open, sometimes I would close, and same with the others.
Are you familiar with the layout of the store? I would
I-
assume so, but I don't want to make an assumption.
I am.
Okay. And with regards to that layout of the store, could you go ahead and just kind of briefly talk us through, if I were to go in the main entrance of that particular Walmart, the one here in Gold Street, what do I walk into and what are the different areas of the store that I can walk to?
So there's two main entrances at Walmart. There's the grocery entrance and the general merchandise entrance. When you go through the general merchandise doors, it's the general merchandise area, health and beauty, stationery, arts and crafts, stuff like that. And then the grocery entrance is where the grocery side is.
Inside that particular store, is there a device over near the well, I should ask, is there a service counter?
There is.
Okay. And near the service counter, is there a device over there that's called an Echo or ECO, ECO ATM,
There
an
is.
Echo ATM? Could you explain to the jurors what an Echo ATM is?
So essentially, it's just a humanless pawn shop. You can put your electronic items in it and it will give you cash.
And while you were there at that particular Walmart, had they always had an Echo ATM machine there?
As far as I remember, yes.
Had you ever used the Echo ATM machine yourself?
Not to its fullest extent, just to get an estimate to see how the kiosk worked.
Could you describe that for the jurors, actually? What's the process that a person would go through if they're going to go ahead and use this device to turn in an electronic device?
I don't remember the exact steps, but from what I remember is it gave me a sticker to put on the back of my phone, and then I would plug it into the machine and I would set it on to the kiosk and it would analyze it or does whatever it does, and then it gave me an estimate.
And then, so it gives you an estimate, and what does that estimate look like? Are we talking about dollars?
Correct.
Okay. And then, have you taken it any farther with that particular machine?
I did not. It gives you the option to either agree to take the money or to give your property back, and I opted to get my property back.
Have you seen other people using that machine?
I have.
Have you seen somebody use it that opts to go ahead and recycle their electronic device and get payment?
I haven't watched people start to finish do it, but I have seen people get cash out of the machine.
Okay. I'd like to ask, with regards to an interaction you had with the Manchester Police Department back in early January of 2022, were you ever requested for security camera footage from around that area of the Eco ATM and the entire store?
Yes.
And was that request for between the time period, for around December 30th or December 31st of 2021?
It was.
How familiar are you with the security camera layout at that Walmart?
Pretty good.
Can you describe it for us, the different types of cameras that are used and the different ways that you can either view those cameras live or view recorded footage?
Yep. So we have stationary cameras, which are cameras that are just in one spot and don't move. Some are high up, some are low. And then we also have PTZs, which stands for pan, tilt, zoom. And those cameras can pan 360 degrees, zoom in and out, and tilt up and down.
And where do you access the camera system?
From the Asset Protection Office.
And I take it, working in asset protection, you had access to that office.
I did.
With regards to the recording that was done, how long back at that point in 2022, how long did Walmart hold on to recorded surveillance footage?
It just depended on the camera and how much activity was recorded on that camera, but it was anywhere between 2 to 3 months.
Were you asked to then, again, get video footage from December 30th or December 31st of 2021 and provide that to the Manchester Police Department?
I was able to do that.
So how did you do that? How do you obtain that for the officers when they requested it?
So pretty much generally what they do is they'll give me a time frame and a general description of what I'm looking for, and then I would review that video, and then I would burn the times associated with the video frames.
Were you able to find a specific time for an eco ATM transaction that the police asked about?
I did.
And were you able, from viewing that video, to see the people who came in and made that transaction?
I was able to, yes.
From the cameras that you had available and the footage that you had available, what, if anything, were you able to view or record about their movements inside the entire store?
So I was able to see 3 people approach the eco ATM machine, and then while one person remained at the eco ATM machine, 2 others then proceeded to walk around the store.
Were you able to recover the footage of all 3 of those people the entire time that they were within the store?
I was.
And once you were able to see that footage, did you make a recording and provide that to the Manchester Police Department?
I did.
Yes, you may.
Joe, I'm going to show you a stick drive or a thumb drive that's been marked State's Exhibit 141. With regards to that particular thumb drive, are you familiar with that drive?
I am.
Have you had a chance to review the contents of that drive?
I was.
And what is on that drive?
The video that I provided the Manchester Police Department.
And for the purposes of today's hearing in this particular court proceeding, are those all of the recordings that are available for us today of that particular interaction, that eco ATM transaction?
Yes.
And does that also include the other video cameras that you talked about that cover other areas of the store so you can follow people around from one location to another?
Yes.
And is this a true and accurate copy of the video that you provided to the Manchester Police for those particular video files?
It is.
At this point, Your Honor, I'd ask for the identification to be stricken from State's Exhibit 141 to be published to the jury.
Any objection?
Only accordance with prior.
The ID is stricken, it's entered as a full exhibit. And it may be published.
Thank you. I would like to ask you, with regards to this particular series of, or this areas of video footage, how are the video footage itself? Is there a notation that's made or somewhere in the recording about the time that the video was captured? Is that in the footage, or is there another way that that's recorded on this drive?
Some camera angles might have it on the screen when you're watching it. Otherwise, it would be on the document itself, like the saved profile.
Saved profile?
Yeah.
Mr. Doe, what I'm going to do now is I'd like to have us take a look at the footage that you have, that you were able to provide. And if you can just give me a brief moment. I'm going to direct your attention to the screen, and hopefully we'll have the footage over there. Mr. Doe, with regards to these particular drive and its contents, I'd like to go ahead and show you the index of the files themselves. Excuse me. Apologize. With regards to that, is that accurate in terms of your listing of all of the files that are available on this particular drive?
Yes,
And you've reviewed each one of those videos, correct?
I have.
And again, they're accurate for what was provided.
Correct.
With regards to that, I know they're rather hard to see, so if you'll excuse me for a second, I'm going to bring them back over on my screen. And I would like to have you kind of take us through the store.
Okay.
And I'd like to watch different areas of this video footage. We may not watch every single one, but it's my understanding you testified these do cover, for the purposes of today's hearing, all of the relevant video times of these 3 people being in the store.
That's correct.
So I'd like to start with the in the file that is entitled Entrance General Merchandise. And with regards to that, I see that there's a title on this slide, General Merchandise, that specifically goes to 135514. Is that a timestamp, sir?
Yes,
So the timestamp is recorded right on the file itself.
correct.
And also, I should ask, with regards to these videos, is any audio recorded here or is it just video?
Just video.
Just video. Excuse me just a second, sir. I apologize for the delay. So this is the entrance general merchandise video.
That's correct.
And with regards to this, the people that you followed for this Eco ATM transaction, pardon me, that have been done on December 30th of 2021, if you would please point out the three as they come through the store.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll pause it.
These are the three individuals.
So could you describe the very first person that's walking in that group, and I'll use the pointer to point to that individual.
Yep, it's a female wearing either a dark blue or a black jacket. And then there is another female behind her wearing a long sleeve blue shirt. And then a male wearing a black jacket and a tan hat.
And I'm stopping the video in again a few seconds into this. We're still seeing the same three individuals.
That's correct.
So this would be those three coming into the store.
That is correct.
Is there another camera just a little bit deeper from that very exterior door that also covers people coming through kind of a vestibule area?
Yes.
And is that one entitled one of your PTZ? What does that stand for again?
Pan, tilt, zoom.
Pan, tilt, zoom. Thank you. Pan, tilt, zoom. Would camera number 17 be able to show us more footage of that doorway?
Yes.
Playing that file, 1355-36.
And then
Yep, I'm going to pause it right there. Go ahead, sir.
these are the three individuals that we had saw in the previous video.
That area that we see them walk off the screen, where is that area leading to?
That's the front of the store by the registers, and they're heading towards the service desk.
I'd like to go to the service desk video that you provided, and referring to track service desk overview monitor, again on 12/30 of 2021 from 13:55:50 through 14:29. And I'm going to go ahead and pause this video here for a brief second. Generally, what part of the store is this?
This is the front end of the store, and this is the service desk area.
And so what do I see? Kind of at the very top of our screen here, line of kind of blue. Are those checkout aisles that I'm seeing?
Yep, those are the front end registers.
And can you please point out where the Eco ATM machine is to recycle electronics? Where's that?
It's right here.
There. So you're pointing to the green device on the left-hand side of the screen up against a blue wall. Is that a good, accurate description?
That's correct.
What I'd like to do is go ahead and keep playing this video for a moment, and then have you tell us when you see those same three people come back.
Yes, sir.
You of the camera.
These are the three right here.
Hold on a second. Right there.
Correct.
Could you please point out where those three are again? First of all, we'll start with the woman that was in the dark colored jacket from before.
Yep.
Okay. And the woman in the light blue colored sweatshirt, and the gentleman with the darker sweatshirt and the tan hat. I'm going to let this play for just a minute, and I'd like to ask you a couple of questions while it's playing. So
Okay.
I apologize, but all of our attention is going to be on the screen right now as we're watching this. The woman in the light blue sweatshirt, what color bag does she have?
It appears pink.
And the gentleman with the dark sweatshirt may have just pulled up his pants there with his tan colored hat. What color shoes generally?
Looks black.
Now, when you have used this device yourself, this Eco ATM, how long did it take for you to plug in the device and get an estimate about what you might be able to get for that device?
Just for the estimate, I would say it was approximately 5 minutes.
I'm just going to back it up a little bit. I apologize. I think I was talking over something. So do we still see the same two females that came in using the device?
That is correct.
And the gentleman, can we see that gentleman in the tan hat here?
No.
Can we see the gentleman in the tan hat now?
Yes.
Where is he?
He's back at the Eco ATM machine behind the female with the black jacket.
Go ahead and press play. Could you please stand up again for a moment and
Yep.
show us where he is?
Yep.
As we're watching the three of them at the machine, Mr. Dope, this particular camera, does this have the ability to zoom in, pan, or tilt, or is this just a fixed camera?
This is just a fixed camera.
So the video image that we see is, this is the angle we get. We can't zoom in anymore.
That's correct.
Gentleman in the tan hat, you still see him in this at this point in the recording?
I do.
Point out where he is, please. Thank you.
Are you guys familiar with one of these? I've never heard of this.
You know, if I can ask you, with regards to the Eco ATM, again, as we're continuing to watch the footage together, with regards to that device, do you know whether or not that device records photographs of the individuals who are using the device?
It does.
And the individual with the light blue colored sweatshirt, from this angle here, can you see whether or not she's leaning on the ATM?
It does appear that she is, yes.
And the other woman in the dark colored jacket, is she still standing next to her?
She is.
And it's my understanding you've seen this video a couple different times, correct, Mr. Doe?
That's correct.
And this, standing at this particular device, this goes on for some time, is that right?
It does.
At some point, Mr. Doe, as we're watching along here, Are we going to witness the gentleman in the tan hat, with the dark colored sweatshirt, and the possibly black shoes or at least dark colored shoes? Are we going to see him walk away from the two women that are using the device?
That's correct.
And when he comes back, does he have on all of the exact same clothing, or has it changed at all?
It's changed. He had removed his jacket and he's wearing a staff T-shirt.
So, and during that time period, do you see the two women leave the Eco ATM while he's gone and then coming back changed?
I don't recall if it's during that, but I do recall one of the females leaving with the male at some point.
In your review of this section of the video, does the gentleman in the tan hat ever stand up to the screen, or is he behind the ladies like he is now?
He's either behind the ladies or standing to the side of the machine.
Which side of the machine?
The side closest to the registers. So from this angle, it would be the right-hand side.
Right hand side, top of the screen.
Correct.
I don't know, Legs. I can't figure out for sure. Some kind of ATM machine at Walmart where you sell items. I don't know. It's been going on quite a while. I don't know what's going on. Cards. Oh, I don't know. What does cards mean? The guy said something about a phone. I don't understand this at all. Cards. I don't know. They've been there a long time though. You can sell phones to gift cards.
About 9 minutes,
Oh.
40 seconds into this.
Okay, so they have gift cards?
Can you still see the same three individuals?
I can.
Oh, I see. Huh. Hello, Ro.
Do you know
Ro-
how many items were recycled?
Everybody remember tonight we're having a roasting.
I don't.
Jerry and Queen will be on panel to roast. It's going to be epic. It's going to be awesome. Don't forget. You can sell gift cards for cash. Okay, okay.
And I should ask specifically, do you know any of the?
Me either, Legs. I don't understand.
during this
Yeah.
transaction?
I just know of a phone, but I'm not sure of a particular phone.
So not a particular number or make or model or anything like that?
That's
just A
correct.
phone.
Correct.
All right, thank you. And the gentleman in the tan hat, where is he now at this point in the video?
He's still on the side of the Eco ATM machine closest to the service desk, so that would be the left-hand side of the machine.
You know, sadly, I have to wonder if this has anything to do with anything.
Mr. Dove, if I could direct your attention over to the right-hand lower side of the screen as we're still watching what's unfolding. Can you tell us how long this video track is, please?
It's cut off a little bit, but I believe it's a little over 33 minutes.
33 minutes long.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to do is I'd like to move forward a little bit in time. I know you stated at one time that this individual is going to change his clothing, the gentleman in the tan hat.
That's correct.
Objection. Characterization, I think he testified he took off his jacket.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Let me
Objection
withdraw
is
the question.
sustained.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Dove, I believe that, I apologize, you did testify at one point that he's going to take off his jacket, correct?
That's correct.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to move forward in time to a moment to when we see that, if we could, please.
Okay.
So I apologize, my eyes are not what they used to be for me to be able to see. Are we about 2 minutes or so? Well, hold on a moment. At this point, is the gentleman in the tan hat walking away?
He is.
Okay. And what about the young lady who was wearing the dark jacket?
Yes, she's following him.
Hi, Colin.
I believe you said that
Good to
you
see
have
you.
other cameras in the store that cover different sections of the store. Is that right?
I have no idea, Legs. I don't.
In regards to that, let me
I'm
ask,
really
are
lost.
any of those cameras a little bit closer to be able to see an individual's face or what they're wearing?
Yes.
And why is that? I'm going to pause the video here. Why is that? Why do you have cameras that are closer to people as compared to a camera like this, which appears to be up in the corner?
So some of the departments, we consider them high risk, meaning that there's a lot of theft that comes out of that department. So there's better camera angles in those aisles. So some of them are closer, not exactly face level, but it's almost face level. It's probably about 6.5, 7 feet from the floor. And we call those the public view monitors. And that's because when you enter the aisle, the camera, there's a monitor above the camera that shows yourself in that aisle. So you can actually see yourself in that aisle.
A customer can see themselves.
Correct.
And what's the point of having that set up?
So people know that they're on camera.
What I'd like to do is talk with you about, we're going to leave this video footage here for a moment. I'd like to go to a different track if I can to one of those cameras so you can kind of explain that to us. Specifically, I'd like to go to a track that you've provided listed cosmetics EVPM 6, again on December 30th, 2021, 14/28/33 through 14/28/51. Is this one of those cameras?
It is.
You see the gentleman in the tan hat here?
I do.
You stated before about his jacket. Is that still on or has that been removed?
It's been removed.
Could you please point out where the gentleman in the tan hat is? And the lady in the black coat?
Is that the same, are those the same individuals that we saw before coming into the store together with the other female wearing the light blue sweatshirt?
Yes, that's correct.
Press and play. What's written on the back of his jacket there? Or shirt, excuse me.
Staff.
Staff. And the front of the shirt,
I don't recall. I believe it was Coors Light or something of that nature.
you have cameras on multiple areas of the cosmetics aisle, so can we follow where they went to right after they turned the corner there?
Yes.
I'd like to now play for you a track you provided listed cosmetics EPVM4, again, December 30th, 2021, 14/28/47 through 14/29/13, and ask you some questions about this. The two individuals that walked in the middle of the screen, did you recognize who they were?
Yep, those are the same individuals.
And now I'd like to move to the next track that you provided, Cosmetics EVPM6, December 30th, 2021, 14/29/10 through 14/29/21. These are the same individuals that we're seeing here on this video.
Yes.
Can you, now that you've got, to be able to see the gentleman, can you make out what's on his shirt?
I see the letters COO.
And from this aisle, does that progress to another aisle that has video footage of the two of them closer up like that?
I believe so, yes.
I'd like to now show you the file that you provided, Cosmetics EVPM5, December 30th, 2021, from 14/29/18 through 14/32/16. Let us know if you see those same two individuals come on this video clip, please.
Well, I hope this means something.
I do.
Could you point out where they are?
This is the male and then the female.
Can you still see the same tan hat from before?
I can.
In regards to these last three video clips that we've watched and the one that we're watching right now, do you see the dark colored jacket that he had on from before?
He is not wearing the jacket.
I'm going to pause the video here about halfway through. Now, do you have a chance to see the other half of his shirt here?
I do.
Okay. And do you recognize the logo on that shirt now that you've seen both halves?
Yes, it appears that it says Coors.
Press and play.
Who is this guy? Is this Adam? What the fuck?
Oh, whoa. Hey, are you copying me? Probably not.
Mr. Job, you said that some of the cameras are very close. Is that some of the closest cameras that you had when you were working at Walmart to a person's face and features?
The only other close ones I would think of would be the entrance and the exits.
And is there also kind of a, let's say, a middle view as compared to kind of an eye in the sky for you? Is there one almost that's like in the middle where you get a little bit closer to the individual, but maybe it's not up on a ceiling?
Yes, there are some of those.
And specifically, do you have any like that that comes with a label called razor blades when it comes to your video?
Yes.
Why is it that Walmart keeps video footage over at the razor blade section?
It's just another aisle that's considered high risk.
I'd like to play one of the other tracks that you've provided entitled Razor Blades, again, December 30th, 2021, from 14:32:50 through 14:34:31. To ask you about this video. Is this that other view?
It is.
Can we see the same two people on this video?
We can.
I apologize, I was talking over that part. Start from the beginning again. Could you please let us know when you see them, and I will pause the video footage as
Yep.
we're playing back now.
I see them and they're on the far left of the screen.
Could you please point out where they are in this image?
Yep.
Thank you. So play. Cosmetic section that we saw them walking through before, is that just to the left or the right of this camera footage?
It's to the left.
To the left. Okay. Do you see them again?
I do.
Please point out where they are on the screen. So down at the bottom center, coming up the aisle.
That's correct.
Where are the exits for the store in relation to this aisle?
The exits?
Yeah.
So the general merchandise exit is just to the right of this camera view.
So it's pointing to like the top right off the screen.
Correct. So just past this aisle is the pharmacy, and then right after the pharmacy is a general merchandise exit.
And what about the grocery exit?
That's farther down.
Same direction.
Correct.
And with regards to these two individuals, were you able to capture footage, or were you able to see footage that was captured of them exiting the store?
I was.
I'd like to specifically play, again, from the same exhibit, track that you provided entitled Exit Grocery, December 30th, 2021, from 14:36:25 through 14:36:34. You see the gentleman in the tan hat?
I do.
And can you describe what he's wearing at this point?
He is still wearing the tan hat and the Coors t-shirt.
And bring 2 more seconds in. You see the woman in the dark coat from before?
I do.
She's still wearing the dark coat.
She is.
With regards to all of the footage that's available on this particular drive, does it appear that she changes her appearance at all during the time that she's in the store?
It does not.
And other than the fact that he removes the dark colored jacket, does it appear that he changes his appearance other than the jacket?
It does not.
Do you know where that jacket went or where he placed it?
I do not.
And finally, back at the service desk monitor.
Was this all about about the jacket?
It's in, and you've reviewed all of this footage, is that correct, Mr. Doe?
I have.
And with regards to this, does this particular individual, the one in the light blue sweatshirt, stay there and finish a transaction before leaving?
She does.
Hey, Tough.
Do you see her exit with the other two or not?
She does
Don't
not. She
forget
actually
tonight,
exit a
Jerry
different
and
door.
Queen are going to be on panel for a roast. That jacket, I bet, is on a hanger in the men's
Mr.
area.
Doe, we're going to end there. With regards to that.
Oh,
and the
you
other
think
footage
so?
on there, once you have that provided, I'm sorry, once you had that obtained, who did you provide it to the Manchester Police Department?
I don't recall if I gave it to an officer exactly or if I dropped it off at the front desk. But I know the video was for Detective Bergeron Rosa.
Other than the footage that we went through, I know you stated that there are additional moments in that footage of that you provided of them walking around the store. Is that correct?
Correct.
For what's been admitted as an exhibit here today, is there any additional footage of them closer up to the face, or what we see was as close as we could get?
That's as close as we could get.
Thank you. Just a moment, please, Ron. Thank you, Mr. Doe. I have no further questions for you. Defense counsel may have.
Okay.
Just excuse me, just briefly. For those that don't know what an Echo ATM is and how it works, you walk up to the machine with whatever you want to exchange, right?
That's correct.
And then you scan it, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you know the rest of it?
I don't know the entire process, no.
Okay. Okay. And have you seen? Never mind. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor. No, we'd ask for the witness to be excused, please.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, sir, you may step down. You are excused.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like this is just the right time to take a lunch break. So thank you for your attention this morning. We'll take a lunch break now, 1 hour, hopefully starting back in 1 hour. So please be back from lunch at 10 after 1. Okay, 10 after 1. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, that was exhausting. I don't know what the jacket, I don't understand the relevance of that. I mean, maybe I just don't get it, which is completely, you know. But just like magic, we're going to whip right through lunch. Dang.
Just be careful of the wires.
The
Please.
jacket. Oh, the jacket might have had. Oh, okay, okay.
So Detective Bergeron.
My
Rosa,
legs,
I'm
I
gonna
am
ask that you
so
remain standing
lost.
and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you'll provide this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. You can have this.
Right, yeah.
And is the lighting okay here?
It's okay. Yeah.
At any point, if you need to take a break, please let us know so we can request that from the judge.
Okay.
Detective Bergeron Rosa, can you begin by stating and spelling your first and last name for the record?
Detective Adam Bergeron Rosa, ADAMBERGERON-ROSA,
And Detective Bergeron Rosa, how are you presently employed?
with the Manchester, New Hampshire Police Department.
And let me back up for just a second. Where do you currently reside?
Where do I currently reside?
City and state.
I currently reside in Allenstown, New Hampshire,
How long have you been a New Hampshire resident?
my whole life.
And you mentioned that you presently work for the Manchester Police Department.
Yes.
How long have you worked there?
Just over 15 years.
And what is your current assignment with the Manchester Police Department?
I'm a detective.
As a detective with the Manchester Police Department, what are your roles and responsibilities?
To investigate the crimes within the city of Manchester. That includes things like interviewing victims, suspects, witnesses, other involved parties, processing crime scenes, documenting evidence, collecting that evidence, and I'm also a liaison officer between Leads Online and the Manchester PD.
I'm going to follow up with you on a review of those specific areas as we go along here. Let me ask you this: Are you active? Are you on active duty currently?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you currently on a medical leave?
When need be, yes.
And I talked to you earlier about light sensitivity.
Yes.
Are you on medical leave currently?
Currently, I'm on FMLA, yes.
And you're actually out this entire month, is that right?
I am.
So again, if you need to take a break at any point, just let us know.
Okay.
You mentioned working for the Manchester Police Department for 15 years.
Yes.
Any other law enforcement experience outside of that?
Not outside the Manchester Police Department, no.
As an officer with the Manchester Police Department, did you graduate from the New Hampshire Police Academy?
I did in April 2009.
And do you remember what class you were?
148.
Detective Bergeron Rosa, while working in your official capacity as a detective with the Manchester Police Department, were you assigned duties regarding the investigation of the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery?
I was.
And can you describe generally, just generally, so a bird's eye view of your role and participation in that investigation?
Documentation and photographing of various crime scenes and anything when it came to leads online.
During your involvement in the investigation, did you participate in neighborhood canvassing?
I did on one occasion, I believe down in Lowell, where we canvassed the neighborhood.
Did you participate in area searches during the course of your involvement?
I did.
How about digs? Did you?
One
participate
occasion, yes.
On one occasion?
Yes.
And where was that location?
I believe it was 77 Guilford Street.
Did you participate in evidence processing?
I did.
I want to go into some of the specific things that you did during the course of your investigation in this case. And I want to begin by talking about the processing of an Audi IS4 bearing New Hampshire registration 4569334. During your involvement, did you participate in the processing of that vehicle?
I did.
And what was the condition of that vehicle when you processed it?
It was poor. Specifically, the inside was damp, covered in mold. The condition of the vehicle was poor.
What was your specific role in processing that vehicle?
To apply Blue Star to the interior of the vehicle and document the results.
And were you assisted by other detectives in processing that Audi IS4?
I was.
And do you recall their names?
Detective Bombard and Detective Ray Lamy.
Do you recall when that processing occurred?
January 21st, 2022 through January 23rd, 2022.
And I think you mentioned this, but you used a chemical process called Blue Star. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the jury's heard a lot about Blue Star during the course of this trial. Let me ask you this. Did you receive presumptive positive results during the processing of that vehicle?
We did.
And with the samples that you received presumptive positives on, what did you do with those samples?
So if it was on a part of the vehicle that could be removed, we removed that article that had that presumptive positive on it and then packaged that article as evidence. If they were on parts of the vehicle that could not be removed, we took a blood swab or a swab of that area of that presumptive positive area.
So you swabbed the area?
Yeah, we swabbed it.
Do you know what occurred with those samples after your processing?
I don't.
Do you believe they would have been sent to the lab?
Oh, of course.
Okay. And we've already heard from the folks at the lab, so I'm not going to question you about that. I want to transition. I want to switch gears. I want to talk about a specific address, specifically 177 Lake Ave. Are you familiar with that location?
I am.
Okay. Is that also known as the Families in Transition or FIT shelter?
It is.
And what city is that location
In Manchester, New Hampshire.
Can you describe your role and participation in processing 177 Lake Ave?
Primarily photography and processing that scene with Blue Star.
Were you accompanied by other detectives during the processing of the Families in Transition shelter?
I was.
Do you recall the specific room that you responded to?
I don't remember the actual room number, but I do remember being there and doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you took photographs during that processing?
I did.
And do you recall who you were with during the processing of the families in transition shelter?
Yes, I was with Detective Sergeant Lovejoy, Detective Ray Hill, Detective Garrett Bombard, and Detective Ray Lammy.
Right. And I'm going to bounce around from thing to thing, but I want to switch gears again. I want to talk about the processing of an address, 644 Union Street. Are you familiar with that location?
I am.
And can you describe your familiarity with that location?
It's in Manchester, New Hampshire, more or less at the corner of Union and Orange. It's a big multi-family building with several levels. And how much more do you want me to go into?
That's fine.
Okay.
During the course of your involvement in this case, though, did you participate in the processing of one of the specific units?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors about the specific actions that you took during that processing?
So I was mainly assigned to take photographs of the processing and evidence collection of the first floor at 644 Union Street in the basement. Whatever evidentiary items came out of that.
With regard to the evidentiary items that came out of the basement area, can you walk the jurors through generally what was collected?
So generally speaking, we were focused on the drain pipes going into the basement where all the other units converged into what's called, the plumbers called the tree. That goes down into a single pipe that then exits the building into the city sewer, the street.
How large are those pipes?
Very large. Most of them were very old 4 or 5 foot sections of cast iron.
Cast iron?
Yep.
I imagine they would be very heavy as well.
They were.
And before we talk more about those specific pipes, what other agencies, if any, were present during the processing of that apartment?
Primarily the FBI was present.
And what was their role in processing that apartment?
As I recall, they were processing the top level of the series of apartments. I was not really there to see what they did, but they were on the top level, and we were on the first floor, and in the basement.
I want to turn back to the pipes that you mentioned.
Okay.
I think you said your role was to collect photographs during the processing of that apartment. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you take photographs of the entire processing of those pipes?
Yeah, I did.
And those large cast iron pipes, were they removed from that apartment unit, the apartment building? Rather?
Yes, they were.
Your Honor, may I have questions?
Yes, you may.
So Detective Bergeron Rosa, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification as States Exhibits 57 through 60.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask that you look through each of those in turn and look up when you finish. Do you recognize those images?
I do.
And what do you recognize them from?
Those are images I took.
You took those?
Yes.
And was that during the specific processing of the pipes that we discussed?
Yes.
Are they fair and accurate representations of what you observed that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state moves to strike the ID of States Exhibit, what's been marked as States Exhibit 57 through 60, and mark as full and published to the jury.
No objection.
All right. The ID is stricken. They're entered as full exhibits. They may be published to the jury.
So Detective Bergeron Rosa, I'm going to leave these with you. I don't
Okay.
know if that would be easier than looking at the screen behind you. I'm also going to put them up on the screen.
Okay.
So whichever you prefer. going to start with a question about those the apartment units that you searched. What led you to those apartment units?
As I understood it, from the lead detectives on this case, is it was a prior residence of the people involved.
Who specifically was the prior resident?
Adam Montgomery and Kayla Montgomery.
And so before we get to the actual photos themselves, you mentioned that the pipes were processed. How did you process the pipes?
So this was a unique circumstance for us. So we had to devise a way to get the contents of those pipes out so we can then look at them for anything of evidentiary value. So what we did is we suspended the pipes off the back of a police truck off the tailgate at about a 45-degree angle, and had a sifting device with 3 levels of sifting that we would then power wash the inside of those pipes, and the contents would then spill out onto these sifters. And after each pipe was done, we would empty those sifters and look at the contents to see if anything of evidentiary value was there.
So almost like gold pan.
Yeah.
And let me back up. Before you set up that contraption, did you cut the pipes out?
Of course, yes.
Where were the pipes brought?
Those pipes were brought to the Manchester Police Station.
And the setup that you're discussing, where specifically in the Manchester Police Department did that?
These photos, we transferred the pipes to, because this was kind of a large operation, it needed a lot of space. So we went to one of the bays in the highway department across from the parking lot and conducted the sifting there of those pipes.
And so I'm going to turn your attention to what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 60. Is that consistent with the State's Exhibit 60 that's in front of you?
Yes.
And so can you explain to the jurors what we're seeing in this image?
So we have, the back tailgate of the truck, and we strapped down the pipes that we extracted from 644 Union Street, and we use our sifting devices and power wash one end of them, and the contents would spill out onto here, and through each layer, and we would look through the contents of those pipes after we power wash them thoroughly and see if there was anything of evidentiary value.
Turning your attention to what's been marked as State's Exhibit 59. What are we looking at here?
That is one of the pipes after power washing.
And was this, you said this was after the power washing?
Yes.
And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Turning to State's Exhibit 58. What are we looking at here, Detective?
That is in the previous image of the double pipes. That's the one closest to you. That's before power washing.
Now, you mentioned a power washing, and I want to turn to State's Exhibit 57. What are we seeing in this image?
A high pressure hose that is manned by, I believe, I can't see the face, but if I remember, it was Detective Bombard holding that. And the high pressure hose, you put it in the end of the pipe, and the water would shoot down the pipe, and any loose contents would flow down into those sifting devices.
And you mentioned those sifting devices. Let me ask you this, Detective. Was there a forensic anthropologist there that day with your team?
There was.
Okay. And do you know that individual's name?
I do not recall, but she was there. I don't recall her name.
Why was there a forensic anthropologist there that day?
Well, in the instance that we found any kind of human remains, she would be able to assist us in identifying preliminarily if those remains were in fact human or not.
Your work that day processing those pipes, about how long did you work on that specific processing?
It was most of the day.
Multiple individuals there.
Yes.
So, Detective, I want to switch gears again. And I want to talk about your involvement with collecting specific evidence items in this case.
Okay.
I want to discuss obtaining evidence items ABR2 and ABR4.
Okay.
We spoke earlier about your duties and assignments, and you mentioned that you currently serve as a liaison between the Manchester Police Department and an organization called Leads Online. Leads Online.
That's correct.
Can you explain that to the viewers? What is Leads Online and what's your involvement with it?
So Leads Online is a law enforcement pond database that we have access to assist us in our investigations, primarily in stolen property. In the city of Manchester, there are rules and regulations that pawn shops and secondhand dealers have to document what they bring in from people. And that information gets put on Leads Online, which we can then look at. So for instance, in the most simplest terms, if someone commits a burglary at a residence and steals a bunch of items, a lot of times that burglar or their associates, for quick cash, dumps them off at a pawn shop and gets the quick cash. And we can see, based on the report, statements and everything like that, if the items that are similar or different, and we compare. And a lot of times those items do end up in pawn shops for the quick cash that the suspects need for whatever needs they need it for.
So a simplified version of that is you're able to track specific individuals to specific items.
Exactly.
During the course of your investigation, were you tasked with tracking information related to an individual named Kelsey Small?
I was.
And how about Adam Montgomery?
I was.
And did you do that following your assignment?
Yes, on January 5th, 2022.
How did you go about tracking items related to those two individuals?
So I signed into the Leads Online program, and it's fairly simple. I had the names of the people of interest, and I plugged their names into separate searches, and it pops up with any kind of secondhand transactions, that they conducted at either a pawn shop, and in this case, it occurred at an Eco ATM at Walmart.
And let me back up. There was another individual. Were you assigned to track another individual named Caleb Montgomery?
Yes.
And you said tracked to a specific Eco ATM transaction that occurred at Walmart, and I want to talk about that.
Okay.
So I want to turn your attention to December 30th, rather, of 2021. You said that your search yielded results. I want to talk specifically about the results from that specific day.
Okay.
Can you walk the jurors through your involvement in gathering information related to that transaction?
Sure. So I put in the searches for those three individuals in Leads Online. And what came up was on or about December 30th, there were 4 separate transactions for 4 separate electronic devices that occurred at the Eco ATM at Walmart, 725 Gold Street on December 30th, 2021. Those transactions were conducted by Kelsey Small. And in those transactions, I can see a photo of the individual's ID, because that's what's required to make those transactions, a photo of the individual themselves, and specific information on each item, like serial numbers if they're available, and a photo of those items that were sold to that Eco ATM.
Your Honor, again, may I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
So Detective Bergeron Rosa, at the moment I'll be handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 90, previously published to this jury. And I'm just going to ask that you take a look at State's Exhibit 90. I'm going to move these exhibits away. And just look up when you have a chance to.
These are the certified records of those transactions from Eco ATM.
Have you seen those records before?
I have.
Familiar with them?
I am.
And to the extent that those have already been published, Your Honor, I move to republish to the jury.
You may do so.
And you mentioned that those are the certified records from the Eco ATM transactions. Did you actually obtain those during the course of your involvement in this investigation?
I did.
And is that those documents, are they consistent with what you obtained?
Yes, they are.
I'm going to ask that you look to the screen behind you. What's up on the screen, is that consistent with State's Exhibit 90 that's in front of you?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
And feel free to look at State's Exhibit 90 or the screen behind you, whichever one you prefer. So I want to ask you, what's the name of the individual in the top left that conducted
Kelsey
the
Small.
transaction that day?
Kelsey Small.
And what was the date and time of the transaction? That should be on the top right.
December 30th, 2021 at 2:18 p.m.
And so I want to walk through the phone's make and model.
Samsung Galaxy A01 cell phone.
And that's with respect to one of those 4 transactions? Is that-
Yes, it is.
And so I want to ask you this, what amount did Eco ATM pay the individuals for this transaction, for this phone?
$1.
$1.
$1.
You mentioned this earlier, but you said that Eco ATM captures certain identifying information of the people that make the transaction or the person that makes the transaction.
Yes.
And so I want to turn your attention back to the screen. Those records that you received, did they capture that information?
Yes, they captured this information. Yes.
And you said you'd previously reviewed this information. Can you point the jurors to the individual Kelsey Small that you were tasked with tracking transactions related to?
This young lady right here.
Detective Bergeron Rosa, what was the next step of your investigation following receipt of this information?
So the next thing I went to do is I do what's called, I put a hold on these items, which means I send a notification to Eco ATM to say, hey, do not dispose of these things. We want them for our investigation.
And why would you put a hold on items?
So they do not go wherever they go to their processing center and get destroyed.
Okay. Cell phones, do they generally contain relevant information?
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, the data on these electronic devices can be very valuable to an investigation.
You mentioned putting a hold on those items. Did you ultimately collect them?
I did.
And with respect to the device that you just read off to the jurors, the Samsung Galaxy A01 cell phone, did you collect that specific item?
I did.
And did you give it a specific evidence number?
I did.
What was that evidence number?
ABR4.
ABR4.
4.
If I can have just a moment. Your Honor, may I approach the witness again?
Yes, you may.
Detective Bergeron Rosa, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification as States Exhibits 143 and 144. And I'm just going to ask that you look at each of those in turn and describe to the jurors what they depict.
144 is a photo of that Samsung A01 cell phone, and the other is the packaging, evidence packaging that I put that cell phone in.
You say that you put the cell phone in. So do you recognize the images that are depicted there?
Yes, I recognize these.
Are they fair and accurate?
Yes, they are.
True and correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to strike the ID of States Exhibits 143 and 144.
Right, the ID is stricken, they're entered as full exhibits,
Okay.
and they may be published to the jury.
So Detective Bergeron Rosa, you said that you collected the cell phone and you packaged it.
Yes.
What did you ultimately do with this cell phone?
I later provided it to our cybercrime detective, Lou Krozik.
And why did you do that? Why provide it to a cybercrime detective?
So he could perform a cell phone data extraction on it.
You said a cell phone data extraction?
Yes.
Did you receive consent from the Eco ATM to take the items and to search them?
Yes. Before that was done, I did contact Eco ATM and they gave us clear permission to do what we needed with the devices as it pertained to the investigation, which included a data extraction.
With respect to this transaction, what was the next step in your investigation?
Well, we had a photo of the person who conducted the Eco ATM transaction. So next we wanted to see if we could obtain video from Walmart.
Why did you want the footage from Walmart?
To see who possibly Kelsey was with when these transactions were conducted.
What steps did you take to obtain that footage?
I contacted the asset protection officer at Walmart, Mike Doby, and requested the surveillance video footage.
And did you obtain it?
I did.
And I think you mentioned this, but you interacted with Michael Dobe?
I did.
And similar to the cell phone that we just discussed, did you give that footage a specific evidence number?
I did, and that evidence number is ABR2.
Thank you. I have no further questions for you.
Good afternoon. I have no questions.
Okay.
You may sit down.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the state will call Detective Lou Krozik to the stand, please. Good afternoon, Detective. Please, go right up to where the bailiff is. Watch your step on the cords, please, on the way up. Thank you, sir. And Detective, if you would remain standing just for a brief moment. You solemnly swear the testimony that you will give this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please feel free to come.
Detective Crosby, because we're being recorded here today, please state your full name and spell both your first and your last name for the record.
Louis Krozik, LouisKrawczyk.
And as we can probably guess from your title, can I ask you where you're currently employed?
Manchester Police Department.
How long have you been working there?
About 23 years.
23 years?
Yes.
Okay. Did you graduate from the New Hampshire Police Standards and Training Academy?
Yes.
And do you remember your academy class number?
131.
131. With regards to the time that you've been working at the Manchester Police Department, can you describe for us, please, a couple of the different positions that you've had and the different sorts of duties you've had during that time?
I started as a dispatcher. In 2003, I became a police officer, and I worked patrol for about 12 years. I then became a detective, worked general cases, investigations, and moved to cyber crimes in, I think, 2017.
2017. And are you still working cyber crimes to this day?
Yes.
And working in that particular unit or division, how are those duties different from necessarily other detectives that might be working juvenile crimes or domestic violence crimes or general adult crimes?
I mostly work with evidence for other cases that other detectives are working on. So I specialize in digital evidence, phones, computers, electronics.
Can you talk a little bit and explain to the jury what is some of the training that you've had to go through in order to be able to work in this unit and do the type of work with electronics that you do on an everyday basis?
I've had a lot of different trainings through the Secret Service, Homeland Security. I've had trainings through some of the companies that make the equipment that we use, including Celebrite, Magnet. And I've done some of their certification programs also.
The trainings that you take part in, do these sometimes happen almost on a yearly basis to keep up to date with new procedures?
Yes, it's constant.
And as part of your trainings and part of your work, I should say overall, let's just say work, do you do data extractions from cell phones?
Yes.
Over the years, about how many different cell phone extractions would you say you've done?
I didn't count, but probably close to 1,000.
1,000. Can you talk to us a little bit with regards to when extracting information from a cell phone about the term an IMEI? What does IMEI stand for?
I hate acronyms, but it stands for International Mobile Equipment Identifier. It's basically a serial number for a phone.
Like a serial number?
Yes.
So I guess like a serial number, is it unique to a brand of phone or is it unique to a handset, a phone itself?
It's the specific phone. It's how the company identifies that phone.
In connection with the investigation into the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery, did you extract data from a cell phone provided by Detective Adam Bergeron Rosa, labeled evidence item ABR4, a black Samsung cell phone with an IMEI number of 352-082-509-319-804?
Yes.
And generally, how are data extractions conducted from a phone? So if I were to bring my phone into you and say, I need you to go ahead and extract it, how do you go about doing that?
We have physical tools and software to copy the data off the phones, and it varies. All phones are different, and there's different operating systems, so it varies slightly, but usually it involves some specified equipment.
With respect to the extraction from this phone, this ABR4 cell phone, how did you do that one? How did that proceed?
We have a tool called a Gray Key.
Gray Key. Is that a software or is that hardware?
It's hardware.
Okay. And how does that work?
You plug the phone in, it gives you instructions. It can determine if there's a pin to the phone. And once it finds a pin, it'll extract all the data from the phone.
Is that software generally accepted and utilized by law enforcement agencies across the country?
Yes.
And were you able to extract data from that cell phone, from that ABR4 cell phone?
Yes, I was.
Okay. What was done with the data that you extracted from that phone?
We have a software program that interprets the data to organize it so that you can look through it.
Okay. And did you save that data into evidence?
Yes.
Do you remember what evidence item you gave to it? It's my understanding that detectives typically use their initials when they put something into evidence. What would this have been called?
I believe it was LJK5.
LJK5 being your initials, right?
Yes.
Does that data extraction process also place the extracted data into a searchable format so that you can just look through with a user account and find different identified information on there?
Yes, it does.
And one key thing I want to ask, the extraction that you do, does that actually change or put any data on the phone, or does it simply copy the data that's on the phone into the searchable format?
Sometimes it has to put a client on the phone, but it won't alter the user data at all.
And will it alter the information such as messages sent to and from, or list of contacts, or photographs that are on there, videos that are on there, music that's on there, anything like that?
No.
Were photos of the phone and the envelope it came in taken as part of your extraction process?
Yes.
I'd like to go ahead and direct your attention for the screen for what's already been marked as a full exhibit, States Exhibit 143. And if you could please, what's this a photograph of generally?
That's how we package evidence.
And I'd like to go ahead and look a little bit closer. The label, do you recognize that zoom in as the label on that envelope?
Yes.
And with regards to it, what's the label that's been given for this cell phone? What are the initials that came, the evidence initials that came with this one?
ABR4.
Separate from that, I'd like to also go ahead and show what's been marked as States Exhibit 144. Do you recognize what this is a picture of?
Yes.
And what is it?
It's the back of the cell phone, ABR4.
There are two white rectangles that I see on the screen here. Are those labels?
Yes.
And are those labels that you put on?
No.
I'd like to go ahead and focus in on the label on the bottom, if I could, please, and we'll zoom in here. Is this that same ABR4 phone that you downloaded?
Yes.
Okay. And with regards to that, could you read the IMEI number for us, please?
352-082-509-319-804.
I apologize. Detective Krosnick, I'm just going to have you look at actually States Exhibit 143 and 144. I just wanted to have you go ahead and compare it to the images behind you. If you could look back on 144 just for a moment. Other than the fact that the one behind you happens to be in color and that one is in black and white, are there any other changes between those two images?
No.
I'd like to direct your attention to 143. Same question. Other than the fact that what's on the screen behind you is in color and what's in front of you is in black and white, any other changes or differences between those two images?
No.
Thank you. Detective, did you look at some of the data that came off of the cell phone yourself?
Yes.
And did the data extraction process that you went through, did that also provide information as to whether or not a Facebook Messenger account was once logged onto the phone and accessed on the phone?
It did.
Okay. Can cell phones that have been deleted still hold on to relevant information on them for investigations?
Yes.
How is that?
There's a couple different ways. For an older phone, you can access the deleted space on a phone. If you delete something, you're basically telling the phone that it can use that space again, but it doesn't remove anything that's there. And then on a newer phone, a lot of times information is stored in a database, and similar to the way the drive on the phone works, you're just telling the database it's okay to use this spot. You're not actually deleting the stuff on the spot until something new has to be written.
I imagine most jurors are familiar with the phrase Facebook or Facebook Messenger, but for those who are not, can you just explain to us what is Facebook and what is the Facebook Messenger service?
Facebook is a social media app, so people can post things publicly or to a private group. Messenger is their messaging app that's associated with Facebook. It used to be one app, but I think they separated into two different apps. Similar to text messages, you can send and receive messages to people.
How do you identify one Facebook Messenger account from another?
Facebook uses either a unique name or often now it's a number, identifying number.
Returning back to the data that was extracted from this cell phone that we see up on the screen, ABR4, were you able to see whether a Facebook Messenger account with the account number of 100009007885803 was once logged onto that phone or accessed from that phone?
It was.
And how do you look into a user account extracted from the phone for the Facebook account?
The software will usually identify it. It looks through the Facebook files from the application, and then I manually look at the files that I picked out to confirm that the software is accurate.
So that particular account that I read out before, and I'll be clear about it, it's 140-900-788-5803. Was that Facebook account once logged into this phone that you searched?
Yes.
And you found evidence of that on this phone. Is that
Yes.
correct? I'd like to now show you what's been marked States Exhibit 11. It's a full exhibit. And here I'm on page 2 of that exhibit. Let me ask just generally, do you recognize this exhibit at all?
Not this specific one, no.
Okay. Do you know of any individual by the name of Matt Gendron?
I do not.
I'd like to zoom in here at the very top of the screen. Could you please read for us what the Facebook account is for this message thread involved?
This is 100009007885803.
Thank you. And also on this particular exhibit, and is that highlighted appropriately with the yellow circle, the Facebook account that you just read?
Yes.
And the message that you see on this particular screen, starting on the very first one, can you read for us the date and time of that first message?
12/8/2019 at 12:13 a.m.
And what's the message?
Hey, need help ASAP. Please need a jump and jumper cables ASAP.
And can you please read the date and time in the next two messages?
12/8/2019, 12:58 a.m.
And what are the two messages there?
I need a jump. My car died. We've been sleeping in our car and the battery just died.
Did you say my car died?
Yes.
My car died.
Detective, I'd also like to show you. I'd also like to show you what's been marked States Exhibit 140. And I'm just going to have you look at that just for a quick moment. I don't suppose you know who Travis Beach is.
I don't know. I know the name, but
No,
I don't know anymore.
Don't know the person personally.
No.
Okay. With regards to this particular exhibit, the same number that you read out a moment ago, the Facebook account that you found on ABR4, also the number that you read out a moment ago on the screen regarding a message to Matt Jenner. Could you please see? Do you see that same 100009007885803 number on that particular exhibit?
I do.
And that particular, the messages going back and forth, does that person appear to be communicating with Travis Beach from a Facebook account with the same number?
It appears so, yes.
And can I just ask you a quick question, Detective? Regards to the time that's indicated on this particular exhibit, I'm going to take it back for a minute. Do you see that it says UTC there?
Yes.
Okay. Could you just answer for us here, regards to UTC? What is UTC in terms of concept of time?
It's universal time code. It's a way that everybody knows what time we're talking about without having different time zones. So if I say 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock is a different time in California. So 8 o'clock is always 8 o'clock in UTC.
So 8 o'clock is 8 o'clock UTC. So does it work like time zones in terms of if it's currently 2 o'clock here, then I've got to think, well, what time is it in California? I have to go back 3 hours, so it must be 11 o'clock there. Is that work also from where we are here in the Eastern time zone versus UTC? Is there a difference between the two?
Yes, every time zone is just an offset of UTC time.
So what is the offset for where we are now, Eastern Standard Time? What's the offset of that for UTC?
It's
And
minus.
specifically, I'm sorry, I should be more specific. During the winter, when we're in Eastern Standard Time, as compared to the spring, when we spring ahead to Eastern Daylight Savings Time.
You got me because I always mix it up off the top of my head, but it's either 4 or 5 hours minus.
Does it fluctuate back and forth between those two based upon the time of year?
Yes.
Let me just have a moment, please, Ron. So just to clarify then, Detective, between 4 or 5 hours, depending on the time of year, that's the difference between where we are now, Eastern Standard Time, and UTC.
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions for you, sir. I believe Defense Counsel may have a few.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
I'm Jamie Brooks, and I represent Adam Montgomery, and I just want to get a quick clarification on something. The state talked with you about a phone. ABR4 is what it's labeled. And the state talked about how there is a Facebook account that was accessed on that phone. Do you understand thus far?
Yes.
Great. So the state then showed messages or Facebook Messenger exchanges from that account. One involved an exchange with a Matthew Gendron. The other involved an exchange with Travis Beach. Do you follow me thus far?
Yes.
Okay. So, but what is not shown is that those messages were physically typed from that phone. Correct? That's not what the
Correct.
evidence shows.
Yes. Well, I don't know if I'm sorry. Can you rephrase?
Sure. The evidence does not show that those messages were actually made from that specific phone, ABR4, correct?
Okay. I did not review the messages themselves. I reviewed the account.
Okay. So all that's shown is that the account that had those exchanges was accessed on ABR4.
That's what I reviewed. Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Just to clarify, Detective, so you found out that that phone was logged into that account. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was all sitting on the deleted space? Deleted space on the phone? Like the account was no longer there on the phone. You're finding it in this deleted space?
The files that show the account were not deleted, but I don't recall whether the account was actually deleted from the phone. But the files were not. They were resident on the phone.
They were resident on the phone?
Yes.
So you could see them?
Yes.
And this was the phone that was ABR4. Do you know where Detective Bergeron Rosa got it from or not?
Yes, I believe he got it from Eco ATM.
All right, thank you.
Nothing further.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you.
You ask the witness to excuse me.
Any objection? Witness is excused.
Excuse me. The state calls Craig Stansel, Officer Craig Stansel.
Watch your step in the court. Thank you.
So you can remain standing. Call your stop.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're going to provide this jury will be the truth and the whole truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. You can have a seat.
Thank you.
Make yourself comfortable. There's some water there.
Thank you.
When you're ready, if you can just begin by stating and spelling your full name for the record.
Yep, my name is Craig Stansel. First is Craig. Last is Stansel, Stanzel.
And I've called you Officer Stansel, but can you tell these jurors how you're presently employed?
Yep, I'm currently a juvenile detective with the Manchester Police Department.
So Detective Stansel,
Correct.
what's your current duties or role and assignment as a detective with the Juvenile Division of the Manchester Police Department?
Currently, I'm a school resource officer at Memorial High School. And when school's not in, I'm a patrol officer.
What is a school resource officer?
Officer at the school. We oversee school safety, and we try and bridge that gap between police and youth.
And you said you also do patrol when school's out.
Correct.
What does patrol look like for you?
Patrol is typical police duties, whatever calls for service might come in, car accidents, domestic incidents, also proactive police work, car stops, things like that.
And how long have you held the position of detective with the Manchester Police Department?
I became a detective in September of 22.
You said September of 22?
Correct.
Have you held any other roles during your time at the Manchester Police Department?
Yep. I started off as a patrol officer.
Were you working patrol back in December of 2021?
I was.
And let me back up for just a moment. Did you graduate from the New Hampshire Police Academy?
I did.
What year did you graduate?
I believe it was April of 2020.
Do you remember what class that was?
181.
181?
Correct.
Back in December of 2021, what shifts did you typically work for the police department?
I was working day shift.
What do those hours look like?
7 to 3, 7 to 3:30.
7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.?
Correct.
And back then in December of 21, what would happen at the start of each of your shifts?
At the beginning of every shift, we have a roll call with either the sergeant and lieutenant of the day, along with all the patrol officers going on shift.
You said that's at the beginning of your shift.
Correct.
About how many officers typically participated in those?
However many are on duty that day, 15, 20.
And you called it a roll call. What's the purpose of a roll call?
Multi-purpose. We do a systems check. We make sure all our gear is working properly. We'll go over any high priority incidents that may have happened recently, officer safety issues, and sort of things to be on the lookout for.
And when you say be on the lookout for, do you talk about people to be on the lookout for?
Sometimes, yes.
Is there an acronym that goes along with that, a BOLO, for example?
Yes, BOLO.
Be on the lookout for, do those apply to adults as well as children?
Yes.
I want to switch gears. I want to talk about your involvement as an officer with the Manchester Police Department on a case involving a missing child, Harmony Montgomery. Are you familiar with that individual?
Yes.
That name?
Yes.
Can you tell these jurors your role, just generally, your role and participation in that investigation?
Yes. Back in December of that year, I located the vehicle in which he was occupied.
When you say the vehicle in which he was occupied, who's the he that you're referring to?
Adam Montgomery.
And let's break that down. When did you begin looking for Adam Montgomery? You specifically.
That morning, be on the lookout was issued during roll call for a blue, I believe a blue Pontiac with main plates that he was associated to.
He being
Adam Montgomery.
And I want to fast forward just a bit, but did you locate Adam Montgomery that day?
I did.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
So, Detective, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 101. Do you recognize the individual depicted in this image?
I do.
And who do you know this individual to be?
Adam Montgomery.
Do you remember the vehicle you mentioned, the Pontiac with Maine registration?
Yes.
Do you remember the individual that vehicle was registered to?
I don't recall the name. I do recall that it was related to Adam's current girlfriend of the time. I believe it was one of her relatives' vehicles.
Does the name Douglas Small stand out to you?
Yes.
Was that the individual who that vehicle was registered to?
Yes.
And if at any time during this discussion you need to review your report, let me know and I can give it to you. But that name sounds familiar. That's the individual whose vehicle you were searching for that day.
Yes.
Walk us through the course of that morning for you until you, from leaving the roll call that you discussed to finding the defendant. What did you do? What were steps that you took to find him?
So that particular day, my assigned route was Route 11, which is a west side route. I started the morning by checking local area hotels, hotel parking lots for that vehicle. I believe I checked the Econo Lodge and one other hotel on the west side and did not locate the vehicle. I then went to a parking lot where sometimes unhoused people sleep in their cars. And that's where I noticed the vehicle with the main registration.
And let's back up just a bit. What was the purpose of finding, what was your purpose of finding the defendant that day?
So the be on the lookout was issued during the roll call to locate Adam Montgomery in the hopes of locating his daughter, Harmony, who family members hadn't seen for approximately 2 years.
2 years. Generally, when you're responding as a patrol person, do you wear any specialized surveillance footage on your person?
Yes, we're equipped with body cameras.
And is that typical of each of your shifts as a patrol officer?
Yes.
Body cam footage, who is that issued by?
I'm sorry?
Your surveillance footage, the body cam footage that you wear, who is that? Who's the issuing body of that? Who gives it to you? Do you get it from the police department? Do you get it yourself?
The camera?
Yes.
The camera is issued by the police department.
So your body worn camera is issued by the police department?
Correct.
Do you have occasion in your experience to review that footage?
Yes.
And in your prior review of body cam footage that you gather during the course of your time as in patrol, is that the footage that's depicted, is it taken at the same time as the events that you're perceiving?
Correct.
And is it fair and accurate?
Yes.
And that recording, does it capture the events as they occur to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
So turning to December 31st of 2021, you were looking for the defendant, you said.
Yes.
Were you wearing your body cam
I was.
at that time?
I was.
And was it running?
Yes.
And prior to your testimony today, have you had an opportunity to review the relevant portion of that recording?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
So Detective, I'm handing you, it's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 142. And I'm just going to ask that you look at that. What is that item?
USB card.
Okay. Have you seen it before?
I have.
Is there something attached to it?
Yep.
Do you recognize writing on the attachment?
I do.
And what is written there?
My initials.
Did you initial that?
I did.
And was that after having reviewed the portion of your body cam footage from that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to strike the ID of State's Exhibit 142 and mark this full and published to the jury.
It can be, the ID is stricken, it is entered as a full exhibit, and it can be published to the jury.
So I'm just going to ask that you turn to the screen behind you. The image that's the still on the screen there. What are we looking at?
That would be the blue Pontiac with the main registration that the Bolo was issued for.
And you testified earlier that you found the defendant that day. Where did you find him?
In a parking lot on Harvell Street, adjacent to some softball fields known as Wolf Park.
Wolf Park. I'm just going to start that video up. What was the defendant doing when you found him?
He was sleeping.
And back up for just a second. Were you able to make out an article of clothing that the defendant was wearing?
Yeah, he was wearing a T-shirt that had staff written on the back.
And can you just point at the defendant? He said staff was written on the back.
Correct.
And how about the front of his shirt?
Front says Chorus Banquet.
The individual that you identified as the defendant in this case, Adam Montgomery, is that the individual who's on the screen there?
That's correct.
Was there another individual in the vehicle with him?
There was.
And how would you describe that individual?
It was a female asleep in the front seat.
And you testified earlier that it was a blue Pontiac, I believe?
Correct.
Seeing your body cam footage, do you agree that it's blue?
Blue, maybe grayish.
Were there any other individuals in the vehicle with the defendant during your interaction?
Just a female in the front seat.
Fair to say that was your interaction with the defendant that day?
Correct.
Thank you. No additional questions. Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Good afternoon. Just real quick, I think that you said that the parking lot where you found Mr. Montgomery asleep in his vehicle was a place where unhoused people were known to park and sleep.
Correct.
And it's one of the reasons that you checked that place, because unhoused people are known to park and sleep there.
Correct.
Thank you.
Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor. I'd ask that he be excused, or I'd strike that. Nothing additional for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, so you may step down.
Not
Not asking
requesting.
for- You're not excused, but you may step down. Thank you.
We can approach, please, Your Honor.
Yes?
The jury didn't leave, right? I'm kind of lost. I laid down with Jack to get him to go to sleep. So I nodded off for a minute or two. I came back to that same shirt. I don't know. I missed something in between, I think. So the couple that was in that Walmart, that was him and the new girlfriend, right? Small, I think her last name is. Christy Small. Kelsey Small, that's it. Okay. Right. She was found dead. Um, um,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's about 2:30, and we are going to end for the day today. I want to give you a little bit of additional information where I can. I like to try to give you a little bit of a roadmap about where things stand. So the evidence is coming in a little bit more quickly than we anticipated. People do the best that they can in terms of estimating how much time a trial will take. We expect that the evidence will be in before the end of next week, and maybe even closing arguments and instructions. Originally we'd said 3.5 weeks, which would be well into the following week, and then there's periods for deliberation. And we don't try to estimate deliberations. Deliberations take as long as they take, so you need to plan that for that accordingly. But we do anticipate that the evidence will be in before the end of next week, and possibly, as I say, closing arguments, final instructions, and then it would be time to deliberate. And deliberations take as much time as they take. That's the best we can say about that. So I just wanted to let you know that, as I said, I do like to try to give you some roadmap where I can. So that's some additional information for you. I also want to let you know you've been seeing a lot of exhibits. The exhibits do go back into the jury deliberation room unless there's some reason why we don't send something back. But by and large, the documentary evidence, the photographs, video, that does go back into the jury deliberation room. Anything that doesn't go back, if you wanted to see it, I would bring you back into the courtroom to see it. So you'll have access to seeing all of the evidence. And as I say, the documentary evidence, things that have been marked as full exhibits, those will be in the jury deliberation room with you. So I just wanted to let you know that as well, because you're hearing a lot of information, you're seeing a lot of information. So I did want you to know what you would have. We are now going to adjourn for the day. I remind you, and I can't say it strongly enough, you're now going to be gone for the next 3 days. Monday is a holiday. It's a court holiday as well. So you won't be here Monday, but I will have you come back at 8:45 on Tuesday. Do not do any independent research. Make sure that you are avoiding any media about this case. So don't watch anything about it on television. Don't look at anything on social media. Don't discuss it, again, not with each other or with anybody else. You don't want to hear what they have to say about it, and they can't hear what you have to say about it. So right now we just ask you to, keep an open mind. As I said to you at the beginning of the trial, you'll keep an open mind until all of the evidence is in and you are starting deliberations. Okay. So don't do any independent research. Don't drive by any of the locations. Don't look up the law. You will get the law from the court in the court's instructions at the conclusion of the case. And as I
They
said
go
to you
home.
earlier, you will
They're
also
not
have
sequestered at
all
all.
of that in writing as well. So for now, I just, you've been an incredibly attentive jury. I'm so grateful for the time and attention you've been putting in. So take a rest this weekend, try to enjoy the out of doors, and don't read the papers or the news. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you Tuesday morning, 8:45. All rise for the jurors, please. All right, you may be seated. Attorney Agati, I think you said there may be some additional.
Did, Your Honor, but I think you already addressed it actually at the very end of the juror statements about whether they might have to come back to use one of the or two of the exhibits. So you already addressed it. I did also have that date of birth with regards to the transport order that's necessary. And I can go downstairs and provide that to the clerk's office as soon as we get done here.
If you give it to the clerk here, she can assist. Mike has the rest of the information, but I still didn't get the date of birth. If it needs to go into a transfer.
Wow.
No other transport orders are needed for Tuesday. Okay. Yes, you look like you're ready. You're ready to say something.
I have perhaps two issues, maybe just one.
Okay.
It's about witnesses that are not on the witness list. During the course of the trial, apparently somebody contacted the tip line, was interviewed, gave information. The state has given us a recording of the interview. We've gone through it, but I have not. We've certainly had somebody trying to go through and see. I don't know, and I don't need to name that person now, I assume. So I don't know if we will be seeking to call this person. It's sort of a puzzle with sequestration when it's actually based on watching, as far as I know, the trial. So that issue, perhaps. And then as far as that sequestration issue, just the entire issue of Attorney Garrity speaking with Kayla Montgomery during the course of the trial. Again, I don't know. It's a thing to assess this weekend about whether or not we want to call him. I told you we would be perhaps preparing a motion to revisit the sequestration ruling by you.
So
neither are on the witness list.
Okay. Perhaps that individual could be advised anyway at this point not to continue watching the trial. We would have to, I don't know what, if anything, that person would be saying. So we might have to assess that. everybody now has the same amount of information, and so I assume everybody could be prepared to deal with it. But if that person could be advised not to continue to watch the trial, I think that would be a good idea.
I guess we could get in touch with that person. Sorry. We learned of this same individual Wednesday afternoon that Attorney Smith is speaking about. And within about 10 minutes of us getting the report, we immediately provided it over. We're also going to be looking at it, but I can tell you we've had no contact with this person. We'll certainly look at it. I guess we could ask whether or not our advocate could try to locate a phone number and maybe reach out and have her try not to watch anything additional for the sequestration, but we have no contact with this
Well,
person.
this person there's just a tip line information. This person has not been interviewed?
Detective Rayhill interviewed.
They did. Apparently, they called the tip line. If I can just summarize briefly, apparently they called the tip line Tuesday after having watched the trial for several days. And in response to the tip line, Manchester Police said, okay, and sent a detective over to interview, or excuse me, I believe she came into the station to be interviewed, provided a statement that was audio and video recorded. The detective wrote that up and forwarded to us about 3 hours later, along with a copy of the video of the interview. That report, again, 10 minutes after we got it, we sent it over to defense. The video, I'm about to say the state has not actually watched the video yet, but I have no reason to believe it's different than the report. But other than that, the state and certainly the Attorney General's office, we've had no contact with this person. If you are asking us, if you would like us to please reach out to them, then we are happy to be able to do that for the court to say, please do not watch anything else. But
I guess, Attorney Smith, do you have any feeling about that?
No, I think it's appropriate. I don't know that we have the phone number to do it. I can't recall if it's in the report. So I think
I mean, I
it's
think
great.
it can't hurt, right?
Right.
So I think it can't hurt. So if you have a phone number and someone can reach out to tell that person to not watch.
the state can
or
do that,
read,
Your Honor.
I think it can't hurt. I mean, we can see where we are. So I would suggest that. In terms of any motion that you're going to file, let me ask you, given where we are, that would need to be filed like immediately, as soon as you possibly can. So where are you in the process of that? I mean, is it something that you could get to the court and to the state over the weekend?
Yes, yes. Oh, yes.
So just tell me where you are in that process.
Brainstorming, completing research. We were transcribing the best that we could the disc that we obtained of the bench conference. And I think we can piece it together. I think we will have it this weekend. If you're asking us to have it Saturday, we'll have it Saturday.
I mean, I would like to give the state an opportunity to look at it so they can craft a response. And I would like to look at whatever I can in advance. So we'll have to figure out. So what I'd like you to do is this. Tell me when you can reasonably get it. I know, it's, I guess I want to know so that I can ask the state when they can reasonably get a response.
Sunday?
Okay, and
Your Honor, I guess we'll try to have a response to you so that it's Monday night. Less than 24 hours might be a little bit difficult, but we could try to have it to you Monday night or at the worst, at least Tuesday morning, so that when you come into the courthouse, it's there for you to be able to review before needing to take the bench.
so can you do this? Email them to each other as soon as they're ready.
Yes.
Just, and email them to Clerk Scanlon as soon as they're ready. And
Oh, yes.
and he, I will speak with him if that's going to be a problem and they need to be emailed directly elsewhere. But that way I'll be able to get access to them, because if you upload them into the system, they won't be processed, so I can't see them. So just when you can, I that would be useful. Any issue that you know of now, other than The context of your legal issue is just the sequestration issue, right?
And then the fact that there's two potential witnesses that have not been noticed to the jury.
Okay, but I'm talking about the legal issue within that.
Well, I think it would be appropriate to say that it's not just a matter of the sequestration and whether or not that was violated, but it also goes to the issue of exculpatory evidence and Brady and Lori, and what an appropriate remedy would be, either in the form of testimony or possibly an instruction or even both.
Okay, just helps me to be able to, because we're not going to have a lot of time, so we can all be thinking about it, even though we haven't seen your pleading. So, okay, so when you can, make sure you get that to the other side, get it to.
An innocent child and an unthinkable tragedy.
5-year-old Harmony Montgomery disappeared in 2019.
So you just need to find out where she is. I have nothing to say.
That sounds pretty interesting, huh? I wonder who it is. That's wild. Hey, Gary. Are you still here, Gary? Well, that's it for this week. Don't forget, we have a epic roasting going on tonight. It's going to be hilarious. Gary is here. Are you ready to roast? Okay, I'm going to shut her down, and I will be back up in a few hours for our Friday night roast. Very, very excited about it. You are ready. Me too. It's time for laughter after all that, for all this stuff. So, all right. Well, thanks for hanging out and watching this sad trial with us. Yes, I will see you all later. I can't wait. Thanks, guys. Bye.